Meeting of the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Janine Freeholder Bauer. Absent Freeholder Johnson.
Present.
Freeholder Jones.
Present.
Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Mercado.
Here.
Freeholder Pomares.
Here.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel.
Here.
Freeholder President Gill.
Here. And please stand for the salute to the flag. I'm going to ask, very happy to see him tonight, Freeholder Johnson, to lead us in the salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask that we please remain standing for a moment of silence, and in particular ask that we please keep the family of Terry Lawrence Deming, a young 7-year-old who died in a very tragic accident from Montclair on July 7th, in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Mr. President, there are none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. President, there are none.
Okay, before we move to public comment on agenda items, I just wanted to acknowledge we have with us tonight for the Freeholder Board, for their awareness, our summer interns who are here, sitting behind you on each side, I think, and some in the audience. So I just wanted to welcome them to the meeting tonight and thank you for their service to the board and to the office this summer. Madam Clerk, let's move to public comment session on agenda items. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any agenda items, this is for agenda items only, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I would like to speak to agenda item number 12 around the healthcare contract. This is appropriate time?
Sure, this is appropriate time. Just your name
Correct.
For the record, sir.
My name is Jay Arena. I live in Newark, 35 Maiden Lane. I am the democratically chosen, that's a small d, democratically chosen candidate of the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign for Essex County Executive. And I call for not approving this contract with a for-profit healthcare company to provide healthcare services at the jail for a number of reasons. One, as this report put out, Ailing Justice, New Jersey, the healthcare provided to the ICE, at the ICE, we call it a concentration camp that you hold, are deplorable. These are deplorable health conditions, including the health care conditions. So we call not for approval, and we would like to see health care directly provided by the county rather than contracting out, which is a waste of money. Most of this goes toward profits, and it's just a boondoggle and opens the door for a lot of opportunities for corruption. So we would prefer to have healthcare services provided directly. Secondly, we should not be holding immigrants in these concentration camps. That needs to be ended. We don't finance the county. We don't finance health care at the prison with what we call blood money. That needs to end. We call for the immediate closure, using your authority that you have under the contract that you have with ICE. We call on Joseph DiVincenzo, the Essex County Executive, and all of these freeholders, and Joe, he's called Deportation Joe. Our movement calls him that, but also the press is calling him as well. We call on Deportation Joe to end this ICE contract. We call for financing our public services, not by trafficking in human beings, not with blood money,
30
but
seconds.
making the billionaires and the millionaires pay for our public services that we need to expand. And there's lots of work to be done. We need to make the rich pay to rebuild our infrastructure, housing, health care, education, and all the needs, burning needs that we have. So don't end that contract that you have with the for-profit company. We want to end all this contracting out, and we want to end the ICE blood money contract that you have with Donald Trump. You take resolutions, you posture against Trump, and yet you collaborate.
Time is up, sir. Sir, we have a lot of
As
people-
my public school teacher taught me, actions speak louder than words.
I'd also like to speak to agenda item 12, please. I'm Reverend Rob Gregson. I'm the Executive Director of the Unitarian Universalist Faith Action New Jersey, the public policy arm for all the UU churches in the state. We are against this for two reasons. One is that our understanding is that CFG Health Systems was actually, their contract was terminated in Hudson County by their freeholders because so many of the healthcare crises in that detention center were traced directly to their care, which we've all seen in the press. We think you should find a different way to provide health care to folks rather than using a group that's already been, a for-profit group that's already been shown to be lax in their care for these people under our care. And then secondly, I would follow up to say that Unitarian Universalists in the state and many other faith groups are in agreement that we should not be making $36 million off of housing detainees, some 5% of our budget, and I live in South Orange. I'm an Essex County resident. This is not the way we should go forward. So we call on the freeholders, and we'd be very willing to work with you to find other ways to begin now. And we would also say that if the freeholders seem unwilling, and we recognize that's a significant amount of money for the budget, that's a reality, but this is not the way that Essex County residents of any faith or none want to see all the things we care about financed. There has to be a better way. We're willing to work on that, and if the freeholders, for whatever set of reasons, find themselves unwilling to do that, we will be part of a broad coalition to start pushing for fair and welcoming policies in the state, along with American Friends Service Committee, the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, and other immigrant-led groups, to find other ways to do this on the state level, but let's be leaders here in Essex County and show Bergen and Hudson and the others that we are going to find another way to finance our schools and our children instead of housing parents and children as detainees here. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is public comment session on agenda items. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any agenda item, please come forward, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
I'm Eric Lerner. I live in Warren, New Jersey, and I'm also with the campaign for jobs and equal rights for all, and I also want to speak to the same item. You all have sworn, you chosen freeholders have sworn to support the Constitution of the United States, but the immigration laws of the United States are unconstitutional. They are a threat to the rights of every person living here. Nowhere in the Constitution is any power granted over immigration. And the 10th Amendment in the Bill of Rights states that powers not explicitly granted to the government are not granted at all. Let's look back in history. 150 years ago this month, freedom of movement was explicitly recognized by the U.S. government. Congress said in an act in July 27, 1868, that the right of expatriation is a natural and inherent right of all people. And in recognition of this principle, this government has freely received immigrants from all nations. The same day, the next day, a treaty between the United States and China stated that the United States of America recognizes the inherent and inalienable right of man to change his home and allegiance, the mutual advantage of free migration and immigration from one country to the other for purposes of curiosity, trade, or permanent residence. Now jump forward 20 years to the first immigration law passed in the United States, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1889. The Supreme Court majority in upholding that used the same toxic mix of racism and national security that used today to defend the same group of laws. The Supreme Court majority said, to protect the nation against the vast hordes of people crowding in upon us, if the government of the United States finds that the presence of foreigners of a different race in this country is dangerous to its peace and security, it has the right to
30
expel these
seconds.
subjects. Race and security. Then as now, these unconstitutional laws are based on that toxic mix. It is time to stop honoring these laws, to stop enforcing these laws, to drive this abomination out of every county and place in the United States. Tonight, now, vote as you have the power to do to end the contract with ICE to hold immigrant detainees without charge or trial in Essex
Thank you.
County.
So thank you. I just want to, and I know we have many people who came tonight and who would like to speak. And for those who are at our meeting for the first time, there's two parts to this part of the meeting. There are public comment on agenda items, specific to agenda items. There is no agenda item specifically to an ICE contract that's on the agenda. That will be followed by a public comment period on anything that you would like to talk about. So right now, this is still the portion of the meeting where we're open for public comment just on agenda items only at this point in time.
Again, my name is Jay Arena, Newark, New Jersey, candidate for the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign in Essex, for Essex County Executive. I am speaking to, as the rights I have under the rules of this body, to item number 23, Office of the Sheriff, a contract from Clearview Data Systems. I speak against awarding that contract for reasons of, one, we need to end the contracting out system, which is a corrupt system. We need to be providing what necessary services in-house. Second, I oppose awarding any kind of further resources to the sheriff's office run by Sheriff Armando Fontoura, who, because he is a key arm of the unconstitutional, racist, anti-working class attacks on immigrants. He has a contract with Trump's chief bigot, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, head of the Department of Justice, a COPS grant, to round up immigrants and deliver them, terrorize, breaking up families. Yes, we get up in arms over Trump's outrages at the border. Here in Essex County, Fontoura and DiVincenzo are also breaking up families, taking mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, crying from their babies and putting them in this ICE concentration camp. So not one more dime to Fontoura, a modern-day slave catcher, just as Mayor Baraka called ICE and their collaborators. But we need people to stand up, in particular, this Newark City Council and these members of the Freeholders, So we call on you to not give one more dime to Fontoura and his slave catchers, and also they repress those people, immigrant and native born, who are fighting to end this system. I was part of the Essex Eight, who in a long tradition of civil disobedience stood in the front doors of this Hall of Records to demand that DiVincenzo immediately break this contract. And Fontoura's deputies assaulted us, brutalized us, and arrested us when we are attempting to stand up, and we refuse to be silent, like during World War II when Japanese Americans were dragged away. We refuse to be silent. We will not be silent as our brothers and sisters are dragged away into the ICE concentration camp run by Joseph DiVincenzo and defended to the teeth by Armando Fontoura.
Okay, thank you. Again, we're on public comment session on agenda items.
Hi, my name is Alejandro Jaramillo, right? I live in Rahway, but I am part of the Cosecha movement, and I am part of the chapter of the Cosecha Circle here in Newark. And I'm here to talk about item number 12. I disagree that this item is not related to the contract with ICE, and I will explain why. But before that, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for the families that have been detained, separated at the border, and also here at Access at Newark, and parents and young people that are being jailed in the jail here by ICE at Newark. So please, a moment of silence. Thank you. So why this contract has to do with the contract that Essex County has with ICE? The reason is that when ICE detains people, right, innocent, honest, hardworking, undocumented immigrants, and puts them in the Essex County jails, the health of those people deteriorates. They go through a stress because they are separated from their families. They are afraid of being deported. They have been mistreated without having committed any crime. As a result, their health conditions get worse, and guess who needs to pay to take care of the health of these people, right? Is the county through this contract. So if you think about when you detain and when you have that contract that allowed ICE to detain undocumented immigrants, honest, hardworking, and put them in jail, actually you are increasing the healthcare costs of running the jails. So it is related. It is related, right? And it is immoral, right? When we all are here and we are against family detentions, when we see children in cages, well, look, here in Newark, right, we have a contract that allows ICE to come and break up families and put families, fathers, mothers, right, brothers, in jail, not for having papers. And we know that ICE is not looking for criminals. ICE is looking for the easy targets, the people that are honest, that are on the street, that are working, that are taking care of their children. And unfortunately, Essex County is collaborating with ICE.
30 seconds.
Is collaborating with ICE. And you got to show solidarity with the immigrants and stop that contract, period, and find the money for the budget from somewhere else, but not from detaining and jailing our people and our community and making our people feel unsafe and fearful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're still on public comment on agenda items. Again, if there's anyone who wishes to speak, you have 3 minutes to speak on agenda items only.
Good evening. My name is Steve Ramsher. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair. I'll be brief. I'm also a resident of Hudson County, and we fired CFG because of deaths that happened on their watch. Don't make the same mistake we made in Hudson County. Do not renew the contract with CFG. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment on agenda items only. Okay. If there's any, I'm sorry.
Hi, good evening. My name is Peter Blackmer. I'm a Newark resident. I'm a historian and teacher here in Newark. I am here to speak to item number 12 for the same reasons that previous speakers have mentioned in terms of the inefficiency and the gross violations of human rights that CFG has inflicted upon inmates in the county jail. And also that it is ingenuous for us to be putting forth that kind of resolution for a vote while we are still when we are still as a county complicit with ICE detention operating out of that facility. Looking around the room, I'm seeing teachers, I'm seeing social workers, I'm seeing children of immigrants sitting before me. And to be complicit in these kind of gross human rights violations that are taking place not only in Essex County but throughout the nation is hypocritical at best when you have the authority and the power within your grasp to terminate this contract with ICE. So I ask you to appeal to your consciences to realize the power that you do have, the responsibility that you do have, and the obligation as chosen representatives of your constituents to act upon this and to terminate the contract with ICE immediately. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any additional public comment on agenda items only? Okay. Hearing and seeing none. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Excuse me, Mr. President, may I intervene here?
Of course, Madam Clerk.
We're going to call people, they were given numbers.
Okay.
And so we're going to call you up by your number to make sure that everyone who is signed up to speak, in the order that they arrived, that it would be fair and equitable. So with that said, will the individual with number 1 please come to the mic?
I see my time.
Okay.
Thank you.
The individual with number 2?
My name is Frederica Bay, and I'm with the New Jersey Coalition for Due Process of Law and a moratorium on foreclosures in the state of New Jersey. Last we met, there was a committee here, and we waited 3 months for that committee to be convened. And there is a report that you gave us. We have a transcript of 125 pages. We pared down that 125 pages to 10 pages. And the first page started off with Dr. David Jefferson, Esquire, saying that he is an attorney. He's an attorney licensed by the state of New Jersey. He has studied this issue, and it is a fraud. It is an absolute fraud, and a fraud is a crime. And that you, our freeholders, have been in plain sight of this crime. And it continues. Just everyone who spoke today, I agreed with what they said. In reference to ICE, I had no idea that ICE was holding cages and stuff that we see on MSNBC every day. I had no idea that that was happening in our town right here in Newark, New Jersey. I had no idea. But I thank you, and we're with you. In my moments, I just want to thank God for the 8 boys that were captured, and not captured, they were saved, and they came out of the cave with their coach, and want to say a prayer for the Navy SEAL who died, and that this country, we need to take a page out of that book as far as our children are concerned, and what we will do. I mean, there was one man that died to see that these 8 kids were out, and they're in the hospitals now recovering. So, what to the American slave is the 4th of July by Frederick Douglass. 1852 speech
30 seconds.
still resonates in 2018. This is by Sarita McFadden. In 1852, Frederick Douglass saw fit to tell the nation about herself. His address is as much a powerful historical record of moral courage as it is a poetic document. A conscientious objector, a dissident, a patriot, eschewed silence and civility and issued a torrent of eloquent
Time's up.
anger to rouse the spirit of Northern whites to advocate the end of slavery for a nation who reviles her origins as a beacon of freedom and the embodiment of the Enlightenment era's highest ideals.
We're going to ask you to
This
respect the
mythology
time
of
because we have so
American
many people.
independence that itself, this mythology of American independence, that it is self-evident that all men are created equal, is a fable we continue to repeat, but it is incomplete. And in 2018,
Ms. Bay, we have so many
Douglas's
people to
words
speak.
still rattle
We're
and
asking you
rear
to
the
respect the
soul.
time, please.
How can anyone celebrate our forefathers' independence from tyrannical rule when we are witnessing in real time the separation of families and migrants who emulate those whose generations sought refuge on these shores for our entire history? How can anyone celebrate the founding of this nation when civil liberties and systematic injustices yet persist for all who are not white men? What to the American slave is your 4th of July, he asked. I answer, a day that reveals to him more than any other day in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. You boasted liberty and unholy license, your national generation swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicings are empty and heartless. Your diminution of tyrants, brass, fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solidarity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on earth guilty of practices more shocking and more bloody than the people of the United States of this very hour. He added, Frederick Douglass, the naive among us cry, this is not America. Evidence of a struggle to recall countless moments in the nation's long history where agents of the state and citizens have brutalized fellow Americans. Slavery's practice was to separate families, often by brutalizing black women through rape and selling their children, and to enslavers for profit. In the late 19th century until mid-20th century, the federal government made it a practice to separate Native American children from their parents, placing them in federal-controlled boarding schools, whose sole function was to kill the Indian in him and save the man, famously coined by an Army officer.
Ms. Begg.
And of course,
Ms.
even
Begg, Ms.
family
Begg, Ms.
interment
Begg,
is
Ms.
not
Begg,
new in
Ms. Begg,
America.
Ms. Begg.
After,
Ms. Begg. Ms.
yes,
Begg.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you. So just,
She is yielding her time to me.
okay, so we have just a couple of things. And first of all, we have been provided the piece by Soretta McFadden. Very familiar with this piece. It's been actually widely distributed during this July 4th holiday, and you have my word, this will be read into the record today. We have, I think, close to over 40 people who have signed up to speak, so I do want to try to give those people an opportunity to speak here tonight. We're not going to be ceding time until we need to run through the list first. So I apologize that we have to cut you off at this point. I want to be fair. Everyone else that's coming to speak, because they are going to have to adhere to the 3-minute rule. We're going to try to keep this with the same standards and to be fair and equitable. This will be read into the record. It has been provided to all of the freeholders. I believe a copy, Madam Clerk, has been given to all of the freeholders, and I would like to move forward with additional public comment at this time.
And Mr. President, we have an opportunity for public comment again at the end of the meeting.
At the end of the meeting. So. So again, if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, you please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you will have 3 minutes to speak. We are doing our best to please be conscious of that time. We will try to work with everyone. We want everyone to hear. We want to hear from everyone tonight, and we're committed to that, and we'll be here as long as that takes. That is our job as elected officials. But we do want to try to do it to be as fair and equitable to everyone who has come here tonight, to be respectful of everyone's time, of all the constituents who have come here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaker number 3.
My name is Carolyn Bailey. I'm a citizen of Newark, and likewise, I am a member of the coalition that has been focusing on the fraud closure, not foreclosure, but fraud closure crisis that is a part of this country, as well as Essex County and all of New Jersey. New Jersey is number 1 in fraud closures for the 3rd year running. And African Americans, and the emphasis in Ms. Bay's presentation was concerning the history of slavery, but during the crises or the so-called Great Recession, African Americans lost trillions in assets that they will never recover. And I yield the rest of my time for Ms. Bay when she resumes her presentation. Thank you.
Speaker number 4, please.
Hi, I'm Chaplain Dr. Linda Rozier, CEO of United Chaplain International Worldwide Outreach, and I'm yielding the balance of my time to Frederica Bay. Bless you.
Speaker number 5, please. Sir, if you've spoken before, we need to let other people speak.
This is part of the public comment period, open for all. I signed up. I'm number 5.
Okay, thank you, sir.
My name is Jay Arena, again, Newark, New Jersey. I am the Jobs and Equal Rights for All candidate for Essex County Executive. I have a message before all of you, before our whole community. We ask the same way that the labor movement has asked, which side are you on? Are you on the side of Joseph DiVincenzo, of Donald Trump, of Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, and all the racists and thugs that are carrying out the attack on our immigrant brothers and sisters, working class people? Everyone has to be asked that question. Where do you stand? Are you with Joe D? We asked Ms. Pintor where this concentration camp is located in her district. in the Ironbound, the historic immigrant community. Where do you stand? Yes, she gets up and stands with Augusto Amador and unveils immigrant monuments. But she says nothing when her big buddy, Joseph DiVincenzo, rounds up mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, and drags them to the concentration camp. This is an international issue. I was interviewed by a Portuguese journal, newspaper, about these atrocities going on. We asked Mr. Richardson with the Laborers International. This is an attack on the working class, all our brothers and sisters, when they can terrorize 12 million of our brother workers. That hurts all workers, including those in Liuna. Where do you stand? We ask all these churches, we ask all these community groups that claim to be for human rights and for worker rights, where do you stand? We are part of a growing movement. We are part of the future. We want to close this ICE jail, just like they have done in Sacramento, California, just like in Springfield, Oregon, a community in Texas. This is a growing movement, and we've got to ask you, what side are you on? Are you on the side of the blood money? The blood money that Joe D gets. And he celebrates that. He defends that. The Jack Welch of prisons.
30 seconds.
And his blood money is increased under his buddy Trump. Which side are you on? That's what we ask. Jay Arena and the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign is on the side of equal rights for all, jobs for all, free public services for all. There's plenty of work to be done. We need to bring immigrants and workers here to rebuild our infrastructure. Let's build a tunnel between New Jersey and New York, not a wall. Let's build housing, not a wall. Let's build schools, not a wall. Let's build houses instead of throwing people out on these racist banks, racist capitalist banks. Let's stand up to them. Let's build the housing. There's plenty of work to be done. There's plenty of work. There's plenty of resources. We've got to make the rich pay. Brendan Gill, you worked with Governor Murphy. We heard a lot of talk about taxing the rich, and yet when the Democrats get in power, they don't put anything through that minuscule tax. We say tax the wealth and income of the billionaires and millionaires. Working class people, including people that got fleeced, their wealth is in their homes. They tax that. Let's tax the real estate, the bonds, the stocks of these billionaires and millionaires, including the governor, and use that money to meet the needs that we need. We don't finance our budget by trafficking in human beings. So I finally tell you, which side are you on? Which side are you on, Miss Pintor? Are you with Joe D? Are you with your resident? Okay. We're asking all of you, same as you, Mr. Richardson.
Thank you again. A reminder that 3 minutes to speak. Public comment session on any issue. Please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, let's try to please be respectful of the other people who would also like to speak.
And this is number 6.
Again, I'm Eric Lerner from Warren with the Jobs and Equal Rights for All campaign. I want to elaborate on the question of how can you support your oath to defend the Constitution when this county is violating the Constitution by holding immigrants. I refer to the first case, the first immigration law in the United States, the Chinese Exclusion Act. While the Supreme Court upheld that act, a minority in the Supreme Court warned of its consequences. Judge Breyer, in dissenting, pointed out that this act violated the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The 14th Amendment, which overruled the Dred Scott decision, which guaranteed rights to all Americans, stated, as Judge Breyer quoted, Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Any person, not any citizen, any person. And Judge Breyer pointed out that to deport people from the United States merely on account of their nationality, their place of birth, violated their constitutional rights, violated the 14th Amendment that for the first time guaranteed equal rights to Americans of African descent. Justice Fuller, in his dissent, pointed out that no euphemism, quote, can disguise the character of this act that deports people from this country. It contains the germs of an assertion of unlimited and arbitrary power incompatible with the principles of justice, inconsistent with the nature of the government, with the written constitution by which the government was created. What he's referring to is deportation. In Justice Field's dissent, he says this deportation, the deportations that are happening every single day thanks to the collaboration of Essex County, among other places, is a cruel and unusual punishment within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment of the Article of the Amendments of the Constitution. It is brutal and oppressive. The existence of the power stated is only consistent with a government of unlimited and despotic power. This punishment is beyond all reason its severity. As Madison, one of the founding fathers, said, if deportation is not punishment, then there is no doom that suits that name of punishment. And Justice Fields concluded by saying, if rights are deprived from people who are not
Time's up.
citizens,
Thank you, sir.
where does the line end? Will it not end with the deprivation of people who are citizens? And that was prescient, because 7 years later, the Supreme Court decided Plessy versus Ferguson, which deprived natural-born African Americans of equal rights.
Thank you, sir.
In 1905, they deprived citizens who were descendants of Chinese of their rights. And of course, in 1944, they deprived Japanese Americans of their rights.
Thank you.
Are we going to stand in that tradition? Or are you going to end Essex County's collaboration with these unconstitutional laws?
Okay.
The decision is in your hands, chosen freeholders. How do you decide?
Thank you.
Number 7, please.
Hi, again, my name is Alejandro Jaramillo, and I am from the Cosecha movement. And I want to remind you that we were here in November, and in November, we were making arguments asking you, to all of you, to cancel the contract with ICE. And we were told that we needed to follow procedure and send a formal request. We sent emails to each of you. We sent a formal letter requesting that. Since November, there has been only silence, no response. Now, we are here for the second time, many months after. So I'm going to ask you tonight, when you go to your home, when you sit down with your children, will you be willing to tell your children and your family, yes, I am not going to cancel the contract with ICE that puts undocumented innocent people in jail? Are you going to tell that to your children, that you refuse to stop cooperating with ICE? Because either you cooperate or you don't. The fact is that if ICE has less beds to place people, they will detain less people. And we need to get ICE out of New Jersey because we will deter their capacity to keep doing their cruel mission. And this is all about money, right? And a lot of you are Afro-Americans, and we know what is the justice systems. It's about money that is made on the back of minority and African-American families. It's an unjust system, right? The stock prices of all these companies is going through the roofs on the back of African-Americans, on the back of undocumented immigrants. So when you refuse to cancel that contract, what you are saying is that you are supporting these corporations that are making money by putting innocent people in jail, separating families, and you are supporting those companies and you are supporting ICE to keep doing injustice to our community. So when you leave this place,
30
right,
seconds.
and you go to your families, think about a lot of the families of the parents that are being detained may be the parents of the children that go to the same school with your children, that are part of the same community. So what are you going to tell to those families? That you refuse to cancel that contract and their parents are now in jail and their families are being separated? So I want you to think about, right? I know it's about money, but we don't want
Thank you,
Essex
sir.
County to make money to fill out budget gaps on the back of our community. There are other ways to make money, and there are better ways to create value, to create jobs, but not incarcerating people, either immigrants or minority people unjustly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 8, please. Number 8, please. Okay, here, seeing number 8. Number 9, please.
Good evening. My name is Mary Margaret. I'm a resident of New Brunswick in Middlesex County. You're going to help me move the mic down? Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm a resident of my name's Mary Margaret Mumich. Again, I'm a resident of New Brunswick in Middlesex County, and I agree with the sentiments that have been said before about abolishing ICE and getting detention centers out of New Jersey and eventually out of the country. And I think one of the groups of people who suffer most from ICE and immigration policy in this country are asylum seekers and refugees. And I have a poem written by Vorson Shire, who I think speaks better to it than I ever could. It's called Home. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbors running faster than you, breath bloody in their throats. The boy you went to school with, who kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you, fire under feet, hot blood in your belly. It's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck, and even then, you carried the anthem under your breath, only tearing up your passport in airport toilets, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you wouldn't be going back. You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains, beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck feeding on newspaper unless the miles traveled means something more than the journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison because prison is safer than a city of fire. And one prison card in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father, and no one could take it, no one could stomach it, no one's skin would be tough enough. I'm going to skip this line because I don't think it's appropriate here. The go home, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers, sucking our country die, and with their hands out, they smell strange, savage, messed up their country, and now they want to mess up ours. How do the words, the dirty looks roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off, or the words are more tender than 14 men between your legs, or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child body in pieces. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark, home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore, unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through oceans, drown, starve, be hunger, beg, forget pride, your
30
survival
seconds.
is more important. No one leaves home unless home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now, I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. Thank you.
Number 10, please.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Dr. Charles Carter. I am an American Baptist minister, and I teach religion, specifically Bible, at Seton Hall University. I'm going to speak for my 3 minutes, and then number 11 and I are going to sing for your presentation. So, I want to say that, first of all, I join my voice with those people who have spoken before me in calling on all of you to vote against the contract with ICE. We claim to be, when it fits our narrative, a quote-unquote Christian nation. Let me tell you a little bit about the Bible. God is always on the side of the oppressed. Moses stood before Pharaoh and in the name of God said, "Let my people go. Let my people go." Moses said to the people of Israel, "When you are in the land, remember that you once were immigrants yourselves, and so you must treat the immigrant with justice." Amos the prophet in the Hebrew Bible said, "Let justice roll down like rivers, righteousness like an everlasting stream." The Hebrew Bible speaks eloquently about the importance of justice. There was a rabbi from Palestine named Jesus. This rabbi spoke many parables, but he always spoke about love and justice. One of the most famous things that he said was a parable about the end of days. "Whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me." I say to all of you gathered here tonight, if you vote for ICE, what you are doing is act against the divine. John, a disciple of Jesus of Nazareth, said, "How can you say that you love God, who you cannot see, if you do not love one another, who you can see?" The gospel, the teachings of Judaism, the teachings of Islam, all come from a tradition where justice is to be sought and acted. What does God require of you? The prophet asked, or was asked, to do this: to love mercy, to do justice, and to walk humbly before your God. Vote against the contract.
Number 11, please.
My name is Faye Letterman. I live in Montclair, New Jersey. I'm a documentary film producer. Now, I'll say one thing. I've had a lot of trouble sleeping last 2 months, get up in the middle of the night, think about my kids in the other room. Actually, I sleep in that room with them. I have 2 kids. Think about all these children separated from their parents. I'm a granddaughter of immigrants. My grandparents worked their way up. I did not work my way up to support the detainment of innocent people, the separation of families. Why do I get to stay with my kids and people running from horrible situations come to our country, knock on the door, same way my grandparents did, and they get jailed? Does this sound like the United States to you? Does this sound like what you want to represent in Essex County? I don't.
On, folks, which side are you on? Which side are you on, folks? Which side are you on? They say in Essex County there will no neutrals be. You'll either be for freedom or thug for Joey D. Which side are you on, folks? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, folks? Tell me, what side are you on?
Number 12, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone in the audience. My name is Carl Schwartz. I am a resident of Newark, and I am here to say tonight that I am ashamed. I am deeply ashamed to live in a county that contracts with ICE, that has been willing to sell out its immigrant population for the blood money that ICE provides them for county services. Every time you go to Branchbrook Park, or Weequahic Park, or the Turtleback Zoo, or the South Mountain Reservation, all of these parks here were built on the backs of immigrant suffering because Joe D decided that he would sell out the immigrant community because money was more important than the lives of families. If you oppose Trump's family separation policy, we've all seen the horrific images of children in cages, children being ripped apart from their mother's arms. We've heard the cries of children being recorded while the Border Patrol agent mocks them. If you are against family separation, we are thousands of miles away from the United States-Mexican border, but that is happening right here in Newark, New Jersey. We are a very diverse city, and I'm proud to say that I have friends, I have family members, I have coworkers, and I have neighbors who are not born in the United States. Some of them are in this country without documentation, and their lives are under a current threat. And we have a massive ICE detention facility, which is more like a concentration camp, right here in our backyard, and it is deeply shameful. I have up on my flyer right here, Joseph N. DiVincenzo Jr.'s signature for when he signed his contract with ICE. This is many years ago. If he didn't know what ICE was doing then, if he didn't know that ICE was acting like the modern-day Gestapo, we know now. This is not hidden news. We know that ICE is separating families and ripping people apart and detaining and arresting people in the middle of the night. How much did Joe D sell out the immigrant community in Essex County for? This morning, WNYC
30 seconds.
reported that ICE has paid Essex County $3 million for the month of May, double the rate that they paid when Obama was president. If you think Joe D's not collaborating with Trump, he is getting more money from Trump. He loves the fact that Trump is president because that is doubling the pay that ICE is giving him. It's incredibly shameful, and I have to ask everybody who is sitting up here tonight, how much money is the immigrant community in Newark worth to you? If you are willing to sell them out for $3 million a month,
thank you, time's
please
up.
be public and say it. Please say, I am willing to sell out the immigrant community here for this amount of money. If you are not, please speak out against your boss, Joe D, and tell them ICE out of Essex. Thank you.
Number 13, please.
My name is Mary Rizzo, and I am a resident of Newark, New Jersey, and I am deeply saddened and disgusted by the hypocrisy of all of us sitting here in this beautiful room in the beautiful city of Newark, a sanctuary city, and profiting off of the backs of human suffering. As so many others who have spoken before me have made clear, this county is making money, is balancing its budget by detaining people who have done nothing wrong. This is shameful, and we are better than that. On Friday, June 30th, 2018, I participated with a group of 7 others in a civil disobedience act in front of this building to demand an end to this contract. We sat down in the doorway in order to get the attention of Essex County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. We were immediately, and I will say violently, arrested by sheriff's officers, and there is video of that arrest, and I suggest if you haven't seen it that you take a look, because it was a truly unnecessary amount of violence that was perpetrated upon us. We were held for hours in holding cells, and our demand to speak to the Essex County Executive was denied, even though we are residents of this county and we are citizens who have a right to speak to our public officials. Now, around the country, activists like us are calling on their local governments, like you, to break their contracts with ICE. And this is happening all over the country. A conservative suburb of Austin, Texas, Sacramento County, California, Springfield, Oregon, and more have all terminated their contracts with ICE in recent weeks. Now, I became involved in this movement because I have seen the inhumanity of detention. In 2015, I toured the Elizabeth Detention Center, which is an ICE facility that detains immigrants, which is run by the private prison company Core Civic. I did this with a class that I was teaching at Rutgers Newark, and we had spent weeks reading about detention, but none of this prepared us for how horrible that experience was. The detainees, who were mostly people seeking asylum, were kept in a former warehouse with concrete beds and exposed bathrooms. Their outdoor recreation area was an indoor room
30 seconds.
with a skylight 60 feet above their heads. They never saw sunlight. They never got to go outside. None of them knew how long they would be kept in this place. And in 2017, a group called Human Rights First toured Elizabeth, and they toured the Essex County Correctional Facility and the Hudson County Correctional Facility, and they called them inhumane for their conditions, for their treatment of detainees.
Thank you. Your time is up.
As a resident of Essex County, I am disgusted that we are balancing our budgets on the backs of immigrants who came to this country searching for a better life for themselves and their families. And I ask the freeholders here today to break the contract with ICE immediately. It is immoral and it is unethical for Essex County to profit from the suffering caused by detaining immigrants, most of whom have committed no crime greater than seeking asylum or economic opportunity. Thank you.
Number 14, please.
Hi, freeholders. My name is Whitney Strube, and I'm a resident of the Ironbound in Newark. You've already heard so much from my comrades here and colleagues and allies. There's not that much I can add. This is such a clear-cut and obvious moral cause. Other than easy money to fund our county off the suffering and immiseration of our most vulnerable community members, there's no argument for colluding with Trump's ICE apparatus. And so in the 3 minutes I have, I want to invoke the authority that I have as an historian. I have a PhD in history from UCLA. I'm a tenured member of the history department at Rutgers Newark. I was arrested here on the 29th with Mary and our other comrades. None of us want to do this. None of us want to speak here. None of us want to be arrested. We're here because we need to stand up and say that this is unacceptable, and we will not be complicit in this just horrible oppression of our community members. And so the two main points I just want to make as an historian, you heard Carl compare ICE to the Gestapo. And I just want to lend that analogy because historical analogies are cheap and easy to make. But as a tenured historian, I want to throw all the authority I have as a credible historian in saying that that is a legitimate and sound historical analogy. ICE is creating a racial terror state, terrorizing our undocumented community members, mostly Latino and Black, African and Caribbean immigrants in Essex County live in fear, and a fear that I, as a white citizen, don't have to experience as I walk down the street or interact with the state. And that is horrible. That is just something that has got to weigh on you as freeholders who have power here. And secondly, because the discussion of immigration in the United States is so distorted by pointless and unfounded references to MS-13 or open borders, cheap references that don't have any substance, I just want to say as an historian that we need to have some empathy for our refugee community members who are fleeing what is literally American-created terror states in Latin America, from electoral interference in Mexico to death squads funded by the U.S. in El Salvador and Guatemala, to coups sponsored by the United States in Chile, Guatemala, Honduras. The list goes on and on. We need that historical context to understand people are not coming here to steal jobs. People are not coming here to join gangs.
30
people
seconds.
are fleeing immiseration that we have helped create and are complicit in. And that if you don't accept that historical framework, you're simply dehumanizing people who deserve better. They deserve better from all of us, but especially you as people who hold power here and can make decisions that will impact their lives. So I really urge you to take seriously the weight of that history and the plight that these people are fleeing, created by U.S. imperialist foreign policy. So thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Father Martin. I live in the priest retirement home in Caldwell. I'm a minister and a missionary. I had the privilege of working in 5 different churches in Newark, in the Central, South, and West Ward. And I spent 5 years working in Central America as a missionary, lived in a UN refugee camp with people who fled from El Salvador into the UN camp in Honduras. And then after I got home from Central America, I became involved in Haiti, and I'm now the president of the Haiti Solidarity Network. Our main work in Haiti now is training young people in leadership. Our motto is that we cannot change Haiti, but Haitian people can. And we can encourage them and learn good principles of leadership. We follow a strategy that was written in a book called Masters of Their Own Destiny. So that's what we're encouraging the Haitian leaders to do. I would be in Haiti this week, except my flight on Sunday was blocked because of unrest in the streets of Haiti. That's caused by the International Monetary Fund forcing Haiti to increase the price of fuel in the streets and the pumps by over 40%, so the people went berserk. The same thing would happen here if that happened in the United States. Anyway, I just want to say this, it breaks my heart to see the people who are now in this concentration camp that Essex County gets paid millions of dollars for running. Some people say to me, it's terrible, these people, they come across the border, they come under the Rio Grande, it's awful, why would they do that? And I often say to them, if you're a father, if you have children, and if you were living there and you didn't try to find a way to get out of there and to get something better for your children, I would wonder what kind of father you were. Because that's why people come here. And if, we're saying now that no longer just undocumented, they're criminals. That's the way we want to look at it. It breaks my heart to think that, because I know, thousands of people from Central America and from Haiti. They're the nicest people, and America is supposed to be a welcoming country, so I hope you would make the efforts that you could to change this
30
contract
seconds.
with ICE. Thank you.
Number 16, please.
Good evening. My name is Marky Garza. So I participated in a protest
Speak into the mic, please.
against ICE on Sunday at the Essex County Correctional Facility. And while I was there, we were legally protesting. We had correctional officers that came out and aggressively confronted us, the protesters, senior citizens who were in the group, and including me and other people started cursing at us, and I like to quote, he called me a spick, called other people spicks, unquote. And he showed me with my very own two eyes the kind of culture that exists at that facility, and more likely than not exists at other facilities throughout the state or anywhere where detainees are being held. This individual, I like to add, also said, your tax money is paying me to lock, for me to lock your effing people up. I believe his name was Officer Manzo. And so this clearly showed me the bruteness, the savageness that these officers have towards protesters, and I can only imagine what they would have against towards detainees behind walls where there's no cameras rolling. This can't continue. You know, this is against humanity. This is against what's right. And what we do now, we will be judged in the future. History will judge us. History will judge the freeholders. You know, I just like to add that another thing about the protests, they didn't understand that you could film. And if correctional officers and some county officers don't understand that you can film public buildings, I can only imagine what laws they also don't understand behind walls, where we can't see them, we can't monitor them, we don't know what they're doing. I'd just like to ask you to please not go along with this contract and to get ICE out. We don't need them, we don't want them. Thank you.
Number 17. Number 17, please.
Marilyn English. I don't agree with Joe DiVincenzo on many issues, but I do agree that we need to keep ICE. But I came here for another reason. I came here regarding the illegal foreclosures that are affecting many citizens of the state. Last week, 2 days
Speaking
ago.
in the mic, please.
2 days ago, an attorney sent me an 18-page form that was put out by two Bergen County judges. And it was based on a meeting in Atlantic City. And I'd like to go over some of the issues that were addressed. They were talking about challenge to standing based on non-compliance with trust agreements. The OCC, Office of Control of the Currency, which is part of the Treasury Department, says that homeowners and borrowers have a right to be in the trust and to question the trust from the securitization point. But the judges ignore that as well. There was an issue with, they said, HUD and VA loans, failure to comply with special servicing regulations, including a counseling notice, may give rise to affirmative defenses. The judges on both the state and federal level are ignoring the FHA requirements that are government requirements on government properties. Then we have a very, very good case came out of New Jersey Appellate Division in October. And it was the Bank of New York Mellon versus Davis case. It was an unpublished case because there were only two judges. And they said every time lawyers go into court with this case, they're told they can't use it because it's unpublished. But yet in this report, I went through Lexis yesterday, and I found every single appellate case that they've used is all a two-judge panel. So they're voting with bias, they're ruling with bias, they're speaking with bias, they're ignoring the Constitution, ignoring the Jersey Constitution, the federal Constitution, and it needs to stop. I also did not see anything on any of the reports today with where they were going to meet about the moratorium. And it's very badly needed in this state. Okay, thank you.
Number 18, please.
My name is AJ. I'm a resident of Monmouth County. I happen to be here because of New Jersey coalition and issues I faced. First of all, about myself, I'm a technical person. I used to be a professor. I used to have double masters in computer science and electronic engineering. But 2007-8 housing crisis put a dent on my career as well as my house. So I never went to the court in life other than some court ticket, like the speeding ticket or something. Then I started learning about the courts. What I found that our courts here in New Jersey, in case of foreclosure, are lawless. I will even go to that extent. Lawyers, I will call some lawyers as liars, okay? And judges, I would say 100% biased in case of foreclosures. So I'm going to read something which I came across, what Marilyn mentioned, is standing. A plaintiff must demonstrate standing by both a valid assignment of mortgage predating the complaint and certifying to possession of a note and providing a copy of the note. Now, all of you are sitting. I would even go to the whole world. Does December 7, 2007 comes after January 31st, 2008? Okay. Anybody will say yes. I will say, well, you are with the judges. Okay? So that is the case. In my case, bank forged the documents, liars became liars, lawyers became liars, judges saying, well, December 7, 2007 comes after January 31st, 2008. Beautiful, okay. And they are putting in front of this New Jersey Bar Association, these two judges, on May 15th and May 17th, stating that this is how we are going to rule in our state. Well, here we are. I went up to New Jersey Supreme Court. Nobody listens. If you look at 2012, historically, prior to that, our state was going with the universal law since 1872, stating that you must have the possession of the note and the mortgage prior to instituting a foreclosure complaint. Well, that's since 1872.
30 seconds.
Now, come 2012, prior to that, our state was working that way. Well, 2010 moratorium, which I never knew, in 2012, it looks like judges made a business deal with the banks. Okay? No decision has come since then. They will make every decision comply in favor of the banks, though facts are different. So that is how I'll put it to you, that moratorium is needed, and I have put out some solution to you.
Time
Maybe
is up.
you will look
Thank
at
you.
it. Thank you very much.
Give it to Kyle. Number 19, please.
Can you hear me all right? Okay. My name is Madeline Hoffman, and I am the Green Party candidate. I'm the Green Party candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm running against Senator Menendez and Bob Hugin. And the reason I'm doing that is I think that we need to have a real lively debate and discussion about not only the situation at ICE and the detention centers, which you've heard a lot about so far, but also we need to examine our foreign policy and the ways in which U.S. foreign policy are creating refugees, and the way those refugees, then when they come to this country, they are blocked, they are banned, and they are otherwise kept out. We are intervening all around the world, in the Middle East. We're intervening in Central and South America, and we want to have it both ways as a nation. We want both to be able to intervene and destroy people's countries and destroy and disrupt their lives, and at the same time, we don't want to let them here. We don't want to let them into our country. And if we, in this policy that we've seen in place now for the last few months, you know, the whole world is watching us. The whole world is seeing these images of the way we're treating families and their children. How high can we build the wall? How many doors can we slam? If we don't have equitable policy, fair policy, and policy that is not imperialist, interventionist, and otherwise disruptive of people's lives all across the country, all across the world, in fact. I want to say 4 things. One, that yes, we need to abolish ICE, and this detention center needs to be shut down in favor of a more humane way of dealing with people who are trying to cross the border and flee our bombs. We also need to end the travel ban and not build any walls. Think of all the things that we could do with that money, that we could use that money for here, for infrastructure, for education, for jobs, for public transportation, instead of using it to detain and to embarrass and to humiliate and to have people all around the world say, oh, United States, such a beacon of hope. What's happened with that? I mean, of course, it's been in our history to rip people away from their families. We've had it with police brutality that goes on with impunity. We've had it in slavery going way back. Native Americans going back even further. So very quickly, I want to say the Green Party calls for this nation to finally respect family values and stop its imperialist, white supremacist attacks on families and children of the oppressed, both here and abroad, as well as for the complete shutdown of ICE. We oppose the militarization of our borders, misusing the National Guard as border police, and building a wall between the U.S. and Mexico. One more sentence. The Green Party stands firmly for social justice for all those living in this country, regardless of their immigration status. Let's bring all of our policies in line with one another so we are genuinely secure, genuinely humane, and the wars around the world and here at home end. Thank you very much.
Number 20, please. Number 21.
Is that okay? Can you hear me?
21.
My name is Yael Weber. I'm an Essex County resident. I live in Montclair. I'm here tonight because I truly believe, and I do not make this comparison lightly, but I truly believe that if you ever wondered what you would have done in Nazi Germany, it is what you are doing right now. I think that that's a comparison that's often made lightly, and in this case, it's absolutely appropriate. We are terrorizing communities. We are rounding up people. We are talking about looking at naturalized citizens. We are and removing their status. We're absolutely engaging in what is the beginning of genocide and of ethnic cleansing. And we're here in Newark. This is supposedly a sanctuary city. We don't have the power here as a city, as a county, to change what's going on a national level. But we can throw sand into the gears of ICE. We can refuse to collaborate. We can refuse to be complicit with what is going on right now across the nation. People across the nation are finally standing up and saying, we've had enough of this. We are not going to participate. We are not going to collaborate with an agency that is terrorizing entire communities, that is locking up people who have come here to seek asylum, as most Americans who are not Native and who did not arise on a slave ship at one point in their family history have done. I don't have a lot to add that's not already been said, but I think that we really need to consider why it is that we have this contract, why it is that we as a county think that this money is worth the lives and the families of people who are here for the same reason that most of our families came to this country. Thank you.
Thank you. '22, please.
My name is Lee Saul. I live in West Orange, New Jersey. And I'm a voter. I vote for freeholders. I voted for Joe. But now I know I should not have voted for someone who signs contracts, for people who sign contracts to incarcerate our immigrants. people who have been bullied, people who have been incarcerated without any judge, without any hearing. This is not America. And when I vote again, I will look for new freeholders. I will think of what you are doing now. This is not right. This is not the way Americans should be thinking. And I will vote, and I will tell my friends and everyone that I speak to about your law, what you have done to the law, that you have voted for this kind of incarceration.
'23, please. 23.
Good evening. My name is Stanley Saul from West Orange, New Jersey. I'm normally not a public speaker, but I got permission from the previous speaker to come up here tonight in view of the importance of the subject. As a person, several generations out of Europe, I was lucky enough to be born in the United States, but lost a large portion of family in the concentration camps in Europe, led by under the hand of the Nazis. We did a similar thing in 1941 when we were attacked. And here we are again, history repeating itself under direct orders from the president of this country. It's an abomination that should not be allowed, that cannot be allowed. We must take care of this situation and close the camp and allow these people at least a trial or fair hearing to present their case for why they want to come into this country. Secondly, on a different note, I challenge you to release the information of where the money comes from, how you spend it, how you account for it, instead of going into the sinkhole that we call Essex County. I challenge you to do that.
Number 24, please. One moment, ma'am. The mic will be adjusted for you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ellen Witt. I'm actually from Central Jersey for immigrant rights. As you know, the people of the United States are learning now that tens of thousands of immigrants are being detained in jails across the country, most of whom have lived here for many years. In fact, over 60% of undocumented immigrants have lived here more than 10 years. This fact is being exposed more and more by the minute. Now, New Jersey has one of the highest percentages of immigrant residents. We also have one of the most aggressive ICE offices in the country, as shown by their own statistics, right here in Newark. And we have a county jail here in Essex that holds the second largest number of immigrant detainees in a county jail in the country. Inevitably, this is going to come to light on a larger scale than just us here. The press will be pursuing this in the future. The movement to close down detention centers and to release detainees is just at the beginning. You have the chance to decide now which side of history you will be on. These detention centers will ultimately be closed. It is only a question of when, and it is only a question of whether you will be an obstacle to their closing or not. Each of you needs to take a position now in favor, publicly, in general, in favor of closing all detention camps releasing all detainees, and ending Essex County's contract with ICE. Please, please, I ask you, please don't hide from this massive human rights violation in your own county. Now, I am from Middlesex County, where the Freeholders terminated their ICE contract, their bed contract that they had in 2009. So I know you can do it too. Thank you very much.
25, please. Uh, 26, please. Number 27, please.
Good evening. My name's Jean Fortin. I own a home in Newark. For years, it's been troubling me that my property taxes were subsidized by the fact that Essex County holds a detention center in our county jail. At last, this issue is coming before you, and we have an opportunity for you to do something about that and stop letting this county be complicit in the detention of federal detainees. I don't want my property taxes subsidized by this. I don't want to have to go and enjoy the county parks and loudly announce as I walk in, well, isn't this lovely? It's being paid for on the backs of poor immigrants who are being held in jail. I would love to be able to go into the zoo and all of the county parks and be able to say, it's no longer being subsidized by immigrant detainees. Please, you have an opportunity to do something courageous. And by the way, you are all Democrats. What is the point of the Democratic opposition to Trump's proposals and Trump's position on immigration if you continue to pad your budget with this contract? Please, do the right thing this time.
28.
My name is Ed Jones. I live in Maplewood. I'm coming really to talk to you as someone who works with young people. I teach at Seton Hall University. I work primarily with young writers. And there are two things that are really important for me when I'm teaching them. One is that I help them pay attention to the truth. Critical thinking is really important when we're teaching people who are 18, 19 years old. In today's environment, under the leadership of our president, truth is something that is a cheap commodity. One of the factoids that he dispels constantly is that our immigrants are among the most dangerous, when in fact, statistics show that they are, their communities and they themselves are more apt to be law-abiding than the citizens in the United States. I think the reason why this lie is propagated has a lot to do with the second reason, that the second thing I need to keep in mind when I'm working with my students. There's something really appalling about the lack of empathy that seems to be seeping into our culture, promoted by such lies. If you want to demonize other people, one of the best things to do is to lie about them and to not remember that people don't show up on your doorstep in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California. They don't show up there because they want to become millionaires. They show up because they're terrified and are either have no capability of making money anymore or have been or are being attacked. Their children are being attacked. The possibility of being kidnapped in countries like El Salvador and Honduras.
30 seconds, please.
So I'm really concerned about the message that continuing to support ICE in Newark, I'm very concerned about the message that that sends to the younger generation about whether we will pay attention to the truth and whether we will treat all people with empathy, not choosing to believe that they are out to get us, but in fact that they just want a decent place to live.
Time's up. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
29, please.
Hi, my name is Link Bella Hughes. I live at 25 Vaughan Drive over here in Society Hill. My pronouns are they, their, theirs, and them. I'm gender non-binary, just for so folks know.
We want to make sure you get your full 3 minutes.
Thank you. The mic may have been surprised by the pronoun choice. So I just want to share a quick story, an analysis, and a conclusion. And I really want to emphasize that you all should vote no on items 12, 23, and 24, and use the money that's in those items to build caring communities, which are necessary for ending the ICE contract so that folks, when they're freed, can have all their needs met. And then that can move toward ending the entire mass incarceration system, which over the last 16 years of Joe D's administration has actually grown throughout the county. So the story here is on Sunday, down at the Essex County Detention Facility, there was a protest. And we were all there peacefully practicing civil action. And an officer of the correction facilities named Monzo came storming out of the correctional facility, outraged that we were there. They were personally enraged that we were protesting against what I guess they believe are, morally detained folks. And when Monzo saw an activist of brown skin color, they said to them, it's taxpayers who pay for your people who are locked up inside. And after some back and forth trying to understand the racism that we had just experienced, the anti-Mexican, anti-immigrant racism, because in a moment you're going to hear how Officer Monzo believed that who they saw were Mexican folks just based on who they saw. The activist of color asked Monzo, they said, "Are you American?" And Monzo then kind of smiled, in a way that looked a little bit sinister, and sort of walked around and talked to one of their fellow officers and said that, you Mexican motherfucker. Pardon my language, but that's the officer's language. So the problem here is that when Officer Monzo said, "your people," and the angry tone of voice in which they used, that they were questioning the citizenship of the activists of color who they saw, just based upon the body that they saw. They attached their own meaning onto that body. Itself a racial act in a way that's very negative and follows a long history of assuming an unfitness for citizenship for people who have darker skin colors. The other problem here is that they were assuming that the national cultural identity of the activists of color who they saw was Mexican, when in fact they had no idea what that person's national cultural identity was. So this is a problem here, and that's the first point. Why? The second point is that there's a very obvious different set of rules for officers who break civil and criminal codes while on duty, and the civilians of different identities who may do so.
30 seconds.
Monzo's actions were disorderly, they were racist, and they were unbecoming of a public servant who needs to be caring about, as a duty, the safety of everybody. One of the Newark 8 who was arrested on the steps of the Hall of Records on June 29th was arrested for a disorderly persons action who did nothing nearly close to the same thing that Monzo did. So why is Officer Monzo still
Time's
walking
up.
relatively free in the world and able to practice police management at the Essex County Detention Facility? If Monzo treated us as oppressively and in a racist and disorderly way, how are we all to imagine the way that Officer Monzo treats those who are incarcerated inside of that detention facility? I think we all really need to be very concerned about who is in that facility, who is managing the folks who are in those cages, and that because that video is public, everybody really needs to check that out and determine for your own selves whether that person should be doing that action anymore. And I'll just end on this last point. I know I'm done with time here. Joe D, and maybe some of you, have descendants who were themselves immigrants, whether from Southern Eastern Europe or from South America or from parts of Africa, assuming after slavery ended in the 1860s. Those folks, in many cases, were viewed as racially inferior in a natural way, in a way that assumed that they were naturally inferior because of the racist science and the ways that the entire social structure was set up upon a basis of racism, from the dispossession of indigenous people and from the enslavement of folks in bodies who were stolen from Africa. So I think we all need to understand that the anti-immigrant racism that's being practiced right now, by assuming the unworthiness of immigrants to be in this country, and that somehow they are morally imprisoned inside of that detention facility, and that's somehow okay for the county to fill budget gaps and now to make revenue off of their imprisonment, is itself entirely immoral. And just to end on a one, sort of bigger point, there is no such thing as a moral imprisonment. That prisons themselves are entirely immoral, and that we need to work toward finding a new way of organizing the justice system in this country so that folks who might break rules that endanger people in society can be handled without imprisonment, and that we can all work to restore justice so that we can heal and humanize and get free from this capitalist system that works to exploit, oppress, and produce lots of violence. Thank you.
Number 30, please.
Good evening. I'm Everett Jackson of Smith Street in Newark, New Jersey. I'm speaking in support of and in request for the moratorium against fraudulent foreclosure advocated by the Hearing of Citizens Coalition of New Jersey. I sent a link to the board's clerk and deputy clerk this morning regarding a court session that I was in with Essex County Chancery Judge Kaprowski, in which I think you'll see evidence that the county is running or is complicit with a racket, a fortress of fake foreclosure. In my case, I came to court and the judge had my lawyer, who I was paying money to, and the bank's lawyer make false statements that the original note was in the courtroom, a required document to have the standing to foreclose. I went through the session. My lawyer, who had previously told me I have to work with this judge, who told me I have a house at the shore, I have a boat. He then went to court and said on the record that he saw the original documents that day. The bank's lawyer said I showed the original documents. And so at the end of the session, you'll hear on the tape that I linked at adamjackson.com, you'll hear me clear my throat, and then just seconds later, I asked, can I see the original note since it's my home? Judge Kaprowski swaggered his shoulders, he hemmed and hawed, and he said, I've seen the note, I've seen the papers, but he didn't produce them because they weren't in the courtroom. All right, so where you're not going to be interfering with the process of foreclosure, you will be stopping a racket of fake foreclosure. Thank you.
Number 31, please.
Hello, my name is Darrell Delgado, and I'm a resident of the great city of North New Jersey. And today, we are here to address the captivity and modern-day slavery that's occurring in Essex County. As we speak today, pregnant women are being denied access to health care as they are being held in ICE detention centers. Children are being traumatized as they're being kept away from their parents, and inadequate or no medical care at all is being offered to detainees in ICE detention centers. And children in these facilities are being given dirty drinking water and food with maggots. What if these were your children being held in these facilities? So today, we demand that Essex County abolishes the contract with ICE and closes the ICE detention centers, because our tax dollars as Essex County residents are funding dehumanization, and children are facing dehumanization as they're being held in concentration camps. No longer can this occur. Children are being separated from their families as they are being held in ICE detention centers. Me and my comrades today ask you to abolish the contract with ICE. Thank you.
Number 32, please.
Good evening. My name is Norma Harrell.
Ms. Harrell, hold on one second. We'll adjust the mic for you.
Good evening. My name is Norma Harrell. I'm a resident here in the city of Newark, county of Essex. I came here on behalf of the Citizens for the Hearing Coalition about the fraudulent foreclosures. And in the interim of that, to my surprise, I hear all of this going on. And I, walked into this and had no idea that all of this was going on. It deeply saddens my spirit that we live in an era or time where these things are taking place and everybody is closing their eyes to these situations. It's heartbreaking. And we elected these officials, and you took an oath. I wasn't here, but I'm quite sure you put your hand on a Bible and you raised your hand and you told God, you made a promise to God to serve us, to defend us. And this is how we're treated. Children are being separated from their families. People are being taken from their homes illegally, just destroying and separating families. I'm not going to go into it, because I'm not going to chew up all the time, because it's other people that have things that they want to say. But in your time, would you please read Isaiah 21 to 35? And it starts off, I'm just going to read the first paragraph. See how the faithful city has become a prostitute. She once was full of justice. Righteousness used to dwell in her, but now, and I'll leave it at that, and you read the rest. And I just pray that as our elected officials, you will come to defend us, do the right thing, by God, do the right thing. You know that this is not right. It's out there. Everybody knows it's fraudulent. It's not right. Just do the right thing. My God, do the right thing.
Mr. President, that completes the list of people who signed to speak for public comment.
Okay, if there's, again, any member of the public who would like to comment on an issue
That has not spoken before.
that has not spoken before. Okay, seeing and hearing none, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there is no one wishing to speak who has not spoken before at this time.
May I, through you, Mr. President?
Yes.
Remind everyone here that we have a second opportunity for public comment at the end of our meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we move into the regular order of business for our meeting tonight, we have just taken 2 hours of public comment. So I'm going to ask that we take a 5-minute recess for the board, and we will reconvene at 9:10.
9:10, okay.
Thank you. Call the meeting back to order. Before we move to ordinance and resolutions, I'm going to ask our county administrator, Mr. Jackson, to address one of the issues that was raised during public comment period, specifically the questions and issues raised around Officer Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. President. The officer that you referenced has been suspended pending termination and also pending an investigation by our Internal Affairs Division. It was done as soon as the leadership of the facility found out about it, and pending the outcome of that investigation, the individual again has been suspended without pay and also pending termination.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, for that update. I think for some of the freeholders, we were hearing that information for the first time, so that update is appreciated and appropriate. Moving to ordinance and resolutions on introduction and first reading. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Yes, we have, Mr. President, we have two.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please read ordinance number 1.
A salary ordinance, County of Essex, 2018 and 2019.
Ms. Parlavecchio, can you please explain the ordinance?
Mr. President, this is an ordinance that is being proposed by the Board of Freeholders. By state statute, the freeholders shall set forth and set by ordinance a number of salaries of county employees, including the executive, the administrator, department directors, and the board itself. This is an update to set the salaries for 2018 and 2019. The last salary range adjustments for these titles were set by ordinance in 2014 and 2016. And these titles will match most of the collective bargaining agreements between the County of Essex and the representative employees who received salary increases of 2.25%. So these salaries are keeping true to that same level of increase.
Thank you. Mr. McInerney?
I have no other comments than what Mr. Parlavecchio indicated.
Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none, freeholders, do I have a motion and a second?
I'll move.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano, second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to ordinance number 2.
Ordinance number 2. Ordinance naming Essex County Sheriff's Patrol Building in Newark as the Essex County Kevin J. Ryan Sheriff's Headquarters in honor of the late Essex County Sheriff Chief Kevin J. Ryan.
Mr. Jackson, can you please explain the ordinance?
Mr. President, as you know, we lost Chief Ryan very drastically and dramatically and sadly, and we're very honored to be able to name the Sheriff's Building in his honor. Chief Ryan began his career at the age of 15 as a voluntary aide to then New Jersey Senate President Carmen Arecchio. He had 30 distinguished years in law enforcement, 4 years with Nutley and 26 with the Sheriff's Office. He worked his way up through the ranks to become undersheriff and then chief, worked in every facet of the Sheriff's Office, and even served as a member of the New Jersey General Assembly from 2010 to 2011. He served as a special assistant to Cardinal Joseph Tobin, as well as overseeing security and functions at the Basilica in Newark. He was a board member of the Essex County Schools of Technology. We consider a fitting and lasting tribute to an individual who was a distinguished public servant and a consummate law enforcement professional. His legacy will be his dedication and commitment to the people of Essex County. I can't imagine a more appropriate honor.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No comments.
Mr. McInerney, you have
No,
any
no comment.
freeholders? Freeholder Siebel.
I have a question. This is certainly an entirely fitting tribute to Kevin Ryan. Is this going to be the building, the new building at West Market Street, near the school?
Through you, Mr. President, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholders, any questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'd like to move it. Second.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Mr. President, we have two. Would you like me to read the first one, Mr.
Please.
President? Ordinance number O-2018-0008, bond ordinance providing for the improvements of the Essex County College in and by the County of Essex, New Jersey, appropriating $3,700,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,875,000 bonds or notes of the county and $1,875,000 bonds or notes of the county entitled to the benefits of Chapter 12 of the Laws of New Jersey of 1971 for financing such appropriation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2018-00008 open. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation. For the record, you will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions, Mr. President. This ordinance was discussed upon introduction during the last meeting in June and vetted fairly comprehensively.
Thank you. Mr. McInerney, any questions or comments?
Just a comment, from a financial impact standpoint, it said in the ordinance, it's half of the cost is supported by the County of Essex, the other half is supported by the state of New Jersey under Chapter 12.
Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, any questions or comments? As noted, this was discussed and vetted on first introduction. Okay, Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on ordinance O-2018-0008?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Johnson, second by Freeholder Palmares. Do I have the same second and mover to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to the second ordinance. Madam Clerk, please read it.
Ordinance number O-2018-00009, bond ordinance appropriating $300,000 proceeds of obligations and certain other funds not needed for the original purpose and to be used for the sports utility vehicles and vans for Essex County College.
Okay, Mr. I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2018-00009 open. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
Now, again, Mr. President, this ordinance was discussed upon first reading at the last Freeholder meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Parlavecchio. Mr. McInerney, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? As noted, this was discussed and vetted on first introduction. Freeholder Luciano.
Thank you, Freeholder President. I just want to put on the record that last month, Freeholder Jones and I met with the Essex County College board, and we discussed this with the president and the trustee members on the board. They're very happy to be getting this $300,000, and they said that their fleet of vehicles is in definite need of an upgrade. So I just want to put that on the record that the college and the new president is very thankful for this, and Freeholder Jones and I both supported it at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Mover in a second? Moved by Freeholder Jones.
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Luciano. Do I have the same second and mover and second to approve?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Moving to resolutions. Resolution is number 1. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution.
Resolution 1, Office of County Council, resolution of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Essex, authorizing the execution and delivery of exchange agreement between Essex County Improvement Authority and LEG 450 Broad Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. County Council Gassion and is here to explain.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good evening, Courtney Gassion, Essex County Council. Through you, Mr. President, this is a resolution seeking the authorization of the board for the execution and the delivery of an exchange agreement between the Essex County Improvement Authority and LEG 480 Broad Street, LLC. This is a specific agreement that centers around the Bridge Street Garage, also known as the Sportsplex Garage, that is owned and operated by the ECIA on behalf of the County of Essex. The board will recall that back in October of 2016, the board approved the sale of the Bear Stadium property to Lotus Group LLC. As part of that sale to Lotus, there was a side agreement that was reached that going forward, the ECIA would convey the parking garage to Lotus Group for their use in their development of the Bear Stadium site as an additional portion of the property that they were looking to develop in this area in Newark. Later, the parties entered into, in April of 2017, a letter of intent that was accepted by the ECIA, which would allow that exchange to take place. Specifically, there are 377 parking spaces that currently exist in the Bridge Street Garage property. At the point in time when Lotus has completed the development on the Bear Stadium site, they will construct, as part of that development, a garage that will include at least 377 spaces, and in fact, it will have quite a bit more, and they will convey those 377 spaces back to the ECIA for the ECIA's use. At that point in time, when the county or the ECIA on the county's behalf is able to take possession of those 377 spaces, they will convey the Bridge Street Garage to Lotus Group, again, for their use in the further development of that area. There will be no financial exchange between the parties. It is just a like-kind exchange. 377 spaces in the current garage for 377 new spaces in the newly developed parking garage that will be part of the Lotus Development Group. The contract has been approved by the ECIA Board of Commissioners. That was approved in June 26, 2018, and we're now seeking the board's approval to allow the ECI Director, Steve Rother, who is here tonight, if you have any additional questions, to sign off on the exchange agreement.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
I don't have additional questions.
Mr. McInerney?
Any additional questions I had were answered by County Council today for me.
Thank you. Freeholders, any questions or comments? The spaces, the current use of those spaces right now, are they being utilized?
They are. A small portion of them are utilized by county employees. The remaining are leased out to private entities.
Okay. So that arrangement remains
It would
the same when we
it would
transfer?
continue once the transfer takes place.
Okay. And then eventually the idea is that it would then come back to the that it would then be moved back to the developer?
The actual exchange would
Right.
not take place until the new spots are available for us
Okay.
to use. So
Okay.
if there's any existing leases, if they're still in existence at the time that the transfer takes place, the lease would transfer over to the new site. If the private entity was still interested in moving forward, if
Right.
not, the ECIA would seek to have those spots filled by other private entities, as well as the county employees that are currently using them.
So right now, would the idea be that the county employees would still utilize the spaces once that happened?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Good. Freeholders? Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 2. Please read it.
Resolution 2, Department of Administration and Finance, Office of Human Resources, contract award to Connor Strong, Buckaloo Companies to provide insurance broker services for employee and retire health service benefits and voluntary benefits July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2021, amount not to exceed $300,000.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson, please explain the resolution.
Mr. President, this is a contract with Connor Strong, as Madam Clerk indicated. We received 2 responses from 43 potential vendors as a part of the competitive contracting process. We are recommending this go to the company with the highest score as well as the lowest price. This will be paid for from operating funds. It is the same vendor that we've had in our last contract. And Ms. Voico and Mr. Critchley are here from Connor Strong to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Please.
Can't put my glasses on. Good evening. Renee Voico, Connor Strong and Buckaloo. Connor Strong and Buckaloo is extremely honored to be reappointed to the County of Essex to serve in the capacity of employee benefits consultant, where we will continue to work with the county on evaluation of benefits and financials regarding the multiple benefit programs that are afforded to the employees of Essex County. We were founded in 1959, and Connor Strong is a private national consulting firm with clients in all 50 states and abroad. We are among the largest benefits consulting firms in the region, and we are corporately located in Marlton, New Jersey, with offices in Pennsylvania, Delaware, Florida, and Massachusetts. Our team is made up of 361 non-union insurance benefits and risk management experts, and approximately 1/3 of our employees are benefits related. 25% of our employees that live in northern New Jersey reside in Essex County, and we have 15% minority representation, and 57% of our workforce is female. Our wages are competitive in the marketplace and are evaluated periodically as economic conditions and job requirements change. The specific County of Essex benefits team at Connor Strong brings 81 collective years of benefits experience to the county. Tammy Brown, who you've seen attend these meetings many times before, she was unable to attend tonight, She is our Senior VP and a Managing Director, and she leads the County of Essex benefits team for the county. I work with her. I am a Senior Account Consultant, and I've been with the firm over 17 years, and I've been working with the county for about that long. Sean Critchley is our Vice President of Business Development. He's here with me today, and all three of us make up the benefits team at Connor Strong and Buckaloo, assigned specifically to the county. We've been with the county for nearly 2 decades. As a local firm, we have the right market power and capacity to deliver substantial results. We identify customized strategic solutions that align with our clients' business, human resources, and business objectives. And we work with both collectively and non-collectively bargain units. And we are experienced in union negotiations as well. In addition to our large base privately held client business, we are one of the largest public entity consulting firms in New Jersey, and we handle more than 150 public entities in the disciplines of public schools, municipalities, counties, special service entities, and government authorities. We also handle an additional 350 total public entity clients through our joint insurance fund for benefits and property casualty. A few of our New Jersey public entity clients include Somerset, Ocean, and Camden counties, Irvington Board of Education, Newark Public Schools, and the City of East Orange. As noted, Connor Strong worked with the county in the capacity of benefit advisors for near the last 20 years. In this capacity, we have provided and will continue to provide, with this appointment, strategic consulting services, data analytics and underwriting, renewal and marketing services, including benefits and financial analysis, labor relations assistance in the area of benefits, legislative compliance via emails, webinars, seminars, communications and engagement, advocacy services, COBRA administration, public health and wellness, and benefits information websites as needed. In the most recent period, 2013 through 2017, we have negotiated a total of over $33 million off of original renewal increases, recommended to move to the state health benefits in 2017, which produced savings from the renewal of approximately $9.7 million, assisted the county in the transition to the state health benefits with labor roundtable meetings, informational sessions, employee contribution analysis on Chapter 78, and communications to employees and retirees. We marketed and negotiated a 3-year life insurance rate guarantee at a reduction in cost, negotiated favorable dental, vision, flexible spending account renewals, facilitated and participated in wellness committee strategic meetings, assisted in reviews for collectively bargained benefit inquiries, provided oversight of carrier management and implementation services, provided legislative updates, and we continue and did provide member advocacy services to the county employees. That's a toll-free customer service number and also access to a secure website. This relieves the county from managing day-to-day complex employee concerns. We thank the county administration for the board and the Board of Treasurers and Freeholders for this appointment. We are excited to continue our longtime and valued partnership with the County of Essex and its employees.
Thank you. Mr. Paravecchio?
Yeah, just a question as to the next round of negotiations for the employee health benefits. Is there an understanding or estimate of, or an anticipation of substantial increase with the state health benefits? And if so, is there an eye towards looking to go back out to the marketplace?
We haven't received anything internally, but I do understand, actually Sean had mentioned it today, that the state has given a preliminary projection, and I believe it's around 8.6% for the state health benefits. It's a little bit lower on the school state health account. I don't have anything formal in writing, but that's what we were told so far.
Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
Nothing other than the fact that this contract, since we've been in the state health benefits plan, has its fee has been drastically reduced. Fee used to be roughly about $250,000 a year, as opposed to $300,000 for multiple years.
Okay. Freeholders? Questions or comments? Freeholder. Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Bauer.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Okay, moving to resolutions number 3 through 9, which I believe are all under the county administrator. Madam Clerk will read them into the record at a later time. Let's start with resolution number 3, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Cooney from Connor Strong will be going through each one of these. I'm going to ask him to come up. This is the same insurance company that we had last year, and he'll go through the details. I just wanted to add that Tim Walker, our Director of Risk Management, would normally be here. His wife gave birth the other day, and unfortunately had there's some complications going on, so he is she's coming along nicely, but he would have normally been here, but obviously his personal issue there takes precedence. So he extends his apologies, and but Mr. Cooney is well able to answer your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. My name is Edward Cooney. I'm the account executive for Essex County. I'm the team leader, working on the account closely with Tim Walker here at the county itself. I'm also a Connor Strong and Bucklew, so I'll ditto all those comments about the firm itself. So we've been working on the account for quite a while. We manage the property and casualty insurance businesses for the county. So property insurance, your casualty insurances, including general liability, auto liability, law enforcement liability, public officials, employment practices, and cyber insurance, also including workers' comp. So you see all those in items 3 through 8 as the resolutions. Overall, we do a full marketing effort. All the insurances renew on June 1st for you. And we do a full 4-month prep period with Mr. Walker and his team. And we discuss all things that are affecting the marketplace itself, including other exogenous factors happening in the marketplace, and then finally down to the actual details of what is happening at Essex County, including claims details and any new operations that you may be doing. So overall, we are expecting a favorable renewal. We know overall in the marketplace, we're at a very low point in terms of rates. They're probably at the lowest they've been, and they will be. We expect a slight hardening happening, especially in the property insurance marketplace. So that was a discussion we had for quite a while with Tim and his team. So overall, for items 3 through 8 together, if I can combine them, overall, your overall rate on the account increased about 1%, we could say. So overall, the additional premium you'll be paying this year, including any rate increases and any decreases we negotiated, as well as your changes in exposure, such as large increases in property values, overall ended up with about a 3% increase in dollars actually spent. So if there's any items you'd like me to go over in specific to any line of insurance, I'm happy to do so. But that's for the insurance renewal itself. I also want to highlight a couple items that we're working on with Tim Walker and his team. So not only do we do the brokering side and also talk about some risk management practices, we're also focusing on a couple of risk management goals this year. One big item is cyber. We're focusing on cyber risk control and items that we can offer ourselves and also through our insurance companies. And then we're also focusing on a couple efforts such as valuations at the zoo and other property valuations. In addition, our team also brings a huge claims focus. We actually have an entire dedicated claims practice. Approximately 30 people work in that practice. We negotiate on your behalf and represent you for any claim scenario. So we work closely with Tim Walker's team and with county council themselves, have claims reviews throughout the year, and then also have full stewardship reports from your third-party administrators and, when necessary, the insurance companies themselves. And then finally, we are starting to discuss some risk control offerings that we can offer as a firm to Essex County to help with safety improvements, such as in areas of workers' comp and law enforcement liability.
Okay, thank you. I think Freeholders, we can take 3 through 8 together, so I'm going to open up the floor now for any questions on resolutions 3 through 8.
Just a question on
Sure.
I think that's it.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
Mr. Cooney, I know you mentioned 3 through 8. This is just for housekeeping. Number 9 is the county's pollution liability policy. Is that under you as well?
No, that's not me.
That's not you. Okay.
So it's going to be 3 through 8, right?
3 through 8.
Yep.
So, Mr. Parlavecchio, is there any additional questions?
No additional questions.
Mr. McInerney, any questions on?
No questions, just on the record, Mr. President, leadership meeting, we did discuss these policies in detail, and one of the pertinent points of understanding these was the amount of self-insurance that the county has before any of these insurance policies kick in. So that was, as I said, discussed and evaluated at the leadership meeting.
Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholder Siebold?
Thank you. Yes, we did discuss these at the leadership meeting, and we were told that for number 6, it's a new insurance carrier, and I was wondering why there is a change.
Sure. So the prior insurance carrier that was with you a few years, this is the medical malpractice liability coverage. So the prior insurance carrier, they had a big shift internally, getting out of certain businesses, including the hospital exposure. So they just weren't comfortable doing that internally anymore. And that was purely a company decision. Across the entire medical malpractice space for insurance, there is always changes happening, so we try to stay well ahead of that. So sure enough, we came in with a different insurance company we do work with, so we're very comfortable with them. And they came in with a rate that matched your expiring carrier with equal or slightly better coverage in certain areas.
So there's no problem with the change.
No problems.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Freeholders, any additional questions on resolutions 3 through 8? Do I have a mover and a second? Moved by Freeholder Siebold.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 9, please read it into the record.
Resolution 9, Office of County Administrator authorizing the renewal of county's pollution liability policy with Chubb Ace American Insurance Company for the period June 1, 2018 through June 1, 2019 at the annual premium of $21,739.66.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, we have Ramil Massey here from the Massey Agency to explain this, and this is our pollution liability policy, and happy to entertain questions.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Ramel Massey, and I'm owner of Massey Insurance Agency. I'm proud to say that we are the largest African-American woman-owned insurance brokerage in the state of New Jersey. I'm also proud to say that Massey Agency is one of the brokers, insurance brokers, and has been for a long time, of the County of Essex. We have been located on Lyons Avenue in Newark for 43 years. We employ Newarkers. We pay taxes in the city of Newark. We are proud to be from the city of Newark. We have been with the County of Essex for over 10 years under the leadership of Frank Delgado, then Ike Jenkins, and now Tim Walker. We handle your pollution liability insurance, your crime insurance, and your public official bonds. We are here tonight regarding your pollution liability policy. It is now with Chubb. Prior, the company was ACE. ACE was acquired by Chubb. The reason your policy is with Chubb is because of their quality of services and their claim services and the quality of coverage that you have with ACE Chubb. This year, there has been no increase in your premium, so therefore, we are looking after the county's funds well. There's been no increase. It was a flat renewal as of June 1st. So I'd like to say thank you for your support of my business for over 10 years. Because of the support of public entities such as yourself, we are able to build and grow capacity and stay here in the city of Newark, where we can continue to provide quality coverage and service to all the residents of Essex County and beyond. Thank you.
Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Freeholder Siebel.
If I remember correctly, we were told at the leadership meeting that there was a $6,000 increase, and now I just heard there was no increase.
In the pollution liability policy?
The six, through you, Mr. President, the $6,000 increase was with, I think you're referring to the liability, privacy liability policy, which had dealt with data breaches and security, and
That's the cyber policy.
right, the cyber policy, and that went up because we increased the nature of the coverage. We have additional coverage for revenue loss, so that's why that one went up $6,000. But this one did not go up. Right. This one actually went up $6. Maybe that was the. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, freeholders.
I just have a question, Mr. President, and that is, does this cover past spills that have to be remediated, or current operations where a spill, I'm just using the word spill generically, happens in sort of a completed operation sense? Can you tell us a little more about that?
About if there is a spill?
Yes.
Or if there was a spill? Yes. So the policy would, it depends on the location. We have covered locations in your policy. And yes, if there was a spill, you do have coverage depending on, I guess, when it was discovered, how long it's been there. We would have to have a remediator come in to see the extent of the damage and the extent of the coverage.
So let me ask a more pointed question. Is this a claims-made policy or an occurrence policy?
Occurrence.
Okay. Thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions? We have a mover and a second.
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 10.
Resolution 10, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of the Hospital Center, contract award to the 3 lowest responsive and responsible bidder per item of a unit cost basis to provide language interpretation and translation services June 1st, 2018 through May 31st, 2020, aggregate amount not to exceed $150,000.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson.
Department Director Del Gaudio is here, Mr. President, to answer your questions.
Thank you.
Frank Delgadio, Director, Essex County Hospital Center. Mr. President, this contract, and previously we used language and video interpretation services, and it was always under our bid threshold. With the increase in the diversity of our county and the constituent base we have, we needed to put this out to bid as we saw that our expenses were growing. This contract is a county-wide contract. It can be used by any agency. So the firms that are chosen here, this information will be distributed to every using department, and they will have access either through video, live interpretation services, telephone services, sign language, every aspect of any type of translation we need. On top of that, the Division of Family Assistance and Benefits and the hospital center and corrections were under federal law to use certified interpreters. In other words, if you have an employee who speaks Creole, they're not necessarily the person you want interpreting for your constituent. You need to have a certified neutral interpreter on board for these purposes. So again, this would be used by all of the using agencies throughout the county.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado. Second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebald.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 11. Please read it into the record.
Resolution 11, Department of Citizen Services, Division of Youth Services, educational contract with Essex County Regional Educational Service Commission to provide educational services to eligible students housed at the Essex County Juvenile Detention Facility for year 2018, amount not to exceed $1,900,000.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, we have representatives from the commission to answer your questions, and also staff from here from the Juvenile Detention Center.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, Freeholders. My name is Rodney Jenkins.
Please speak into the mic.
Good evening, Mr. President and Freeholders. My name is Rodney Jenkins. I'm a resident of Montclair, and I'm also the principal of Sojourn High School, which is located in the Essex County Youth Detention Center on Duryea Street. The contract before you is a flat contract with no increase. However, at Sojourn High School, we've made a number of increases in the educational opportunities for our students. We've moved to a blended platform that will give the opportunity for students that have come from the municipalities of both Essex County and Passaic an opportunity to get the same education that they would get if they were going to their own high schools. We've done that by adding technology and joining forces with other cyber places like Google and Summit Learning. We think that we give a direct and great opportunity for our young men not to come back to our detention center and to be able to go back to their communities and be thriving young men in their communities.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yeah, I have a question about the contract term, which covers the calendar year of 2018, so it starts in January. How come we're just renewing it now? And it seems to end at the end of 2018. Do we have to renew in January, or is this, does the funding for this come in at a later time? I'm just curious why it's hearkening back to January 1.
I think I'll get back to you on that one, Mr. Parlavecchio. I believe you're correct. It does have to do with the funding, but I'm not 100% giving you that answer.
Yeah, the question has nothing to do with the services, which you know, I know historically have been very good. It's just a question about the dates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
I have no questions, Mr. President.
Freeholders? Seems, through you, Mr. Administrator, that in the 16 and 17 school year, how many students were served?
In the 16-17 school year, students that were serviced over the year, I would say 379. Those numbers are not right in front of me, but somewhat around that area.
And if I may, Mr. President, also, as you know, most of they're not long-term stays, if you will, for here. So
Right.
there's a lot of turnover. But Mr. Jenkins, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but some of the achievements of some of the students, I think the board would be interested in hearing.
Well, this year we had 4 graduates. We also had 4 students who got college credit from not Essex County College, but from NJIT for taking an environmental science class. We were touted by the JJC for our advancements in innovation and technology in the classrooms. We're trying to make a stab at giving our kids an opportunity to have a trade when they come out, because we brought C-Tech, which is a technical vocational training center, and we became a certified training center to give these kids an opportunity when they come back out to the world to go right back in and get a job in let's say in the new world, where they can go out and do the electrical wiring, even in what we speak here, and get a job.
And the size of the size of the program in terms of staff?
We have 24 staff members at Sojourn High School.
Okay. And this, even though it's flat, this covers the same amount of
Right, the $1.9 million will cover the same amount of staff.
Okay.
And all of the new technology that will come in with it.
That will come with it. Okay. Freeholders, any additional questions or comments? The mover in a second.
Move it. Second, Mr. President.
Moved by Vice President Richards, second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Present, no vote.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Moving to resolution number 12. Madam Clerk, please read into the record.
Resolution 12, Department of Corrections Contract Award to CFG Health Systems to provide medical services for inmates at the Essex County Correctional Facility, exercising 2-year contract extension option, August 1st, 2018 through July 31st, 2020, amount not to exceed $25,565,545.72.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes, Mr. President. This is a contract, again, it's a 2-year contract extension to cover for residents in the facility, both connected, ICE connected and non-ICE connected, our entire facility. Mr. Ortiz and the vendor are here to answer your questions, but I just wanted to note that there are, certainly in our this mentioned earlier, in our ICE program, we don't have any minors or women in the program at all. So I just wanted to know, I'm not sure whether the Freeholder Board was aware of that, but there are no minors and there are no women in the program whatsoever.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Ortiz.
Good evening, Mr. President and freeholders. I'm here principally tonight to advocate for the passage of this year extension of our medical protocol with the CFG company. They are very responsive to us. Tonight, we've heard some indications of other issues at other institutions, but we do not experience that at Essex because we have a very robust quality assurance program. We meet weekly, daily, as necessary, depending on what the issues are, whether it be medical, mental health, or any other issues that come before us. As you well know, we encounter almost everything that any hospital on the street encounters because they're coming to us. So we have an emergency room downstairs in my correctional facility. With me, I have Mr. Les Pascal and he can address any concerns you may have regarding any issue you may have as to how we manage. I also want to indicate that we have Dr. Shansky, which you folks here approve. He comes in every other month, and he looks at and investigates any issues that we may have. So one of the keys to keeping everything and providing the medical, mental health services that is necessary is having those quality assurance programs in place. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Les Pascal, who introduces other staff that's here.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. This is Les Pascal, and I wanted to begin by introducing one of Essex County's sons, Dr. Lionel Anisette. Dr. Anisette is the medical director for our program at Essex County. Denise Rodman. Denise is our executive director for our corrections division in the organization. And also in the back, Dr. James Neal. Dr. James Neal is our corporate medical director, and Charmaine Thomas, the HSA and regional director for our organization. I'd like to begin first by thanking you for giving us an opportunity to continue what has been a long-standing ride of excellent services. And I have to say, the excellent services are not just my judgment, but it's been quantified by numerous passages of NCCHC accreditation, Dr. Shansky, as well as the ACA, as well as state surveys. And when I say passing, I don't mean 75%. You may or may not remember, but we have achieved some of the highest grades for NCCHC accreditation and ACA accreditation of any organization. That word "we" is very important. We do well at Essex County because we are a partner with the leadership at Essex County. And the Essex County leadership works in collaboration. And without that partnership, without those two parts working together, we would not have been able to achieve the things we've achieved. I'm very proud of this team. I'm very proud of our organization. And I'm very proud to have the opportunity to continue good work with Essex County.
The man who makes it all work.
Good evening, Mr. President, freeholders. Again, it's an honor to stand before you. It's the responsibility. And I hear a lot of the passion.
Your name for the record, please.
Hello, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My name is Dr. Lionel Anisette. I'm the medical director for Essex County Corrections on behalf of CFG. And again, I'd just like to reiterate that it's a responsibility. I hear the passion in this room. I hear the motivation of the many speakers that have come here. We use that as motivation. It's not a hurdle. It's a challenge. And these patients that we see, we don't really look at their uniforms or their status. They're our patients. They're my patients. We run the largest detox center. We run the largest mental health center. We basically work with every community-based organization that comes to us, and those that don't even come to us, we knock on their door. So when those patients come to us, that's basically our job to keep them healthy, maintain them. CFG has high standards. NCCHC, ACA, NCCHC, we tell them, come here, see what we have. Our team, I'm proud of them. Each day they come in, I wake up in the morning, 6:30, I'm going to get an email from the director. I'm going to find out how many people are coming in from all over the country. I don't know who's bringing them, but I know when they do come, there's going to be a standard of care that Essex County holds us up to, and we're going to meet that standard. And this is our Director of Corrections here.
Good evening, Mr. President and freeholders. I am very proud
Your
to
name
be...
for the record, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm Denise Rahman. I'm the Executive Director for Correctional Services for CFG. I am very proud of the work that CFG does. Contrary to what you've heard here tonight, we are very passionate about what we do, and we are very, very grateful for the opportunity to be here and to work in partnership with Director Ortiz and the rest of his team at Essex County. So thank you again for having us here.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yeah, I don't like to give history lessons, but just one, I heard Dr. Shansky's name placed on the record a couple of times, and it occurred to me that there are probably more than half of the freeholders who were not here during Dr. Shansky's regular visits. Before the, this will be 2 minutes, before the correctional facility was built, I guess in the mid-2000s, 2005, 2006. 2003, thank you. Before that, the old jail was under a federal consent order, and Dr. Shansky was the then court-appointed medical consultant that oversaw the medical facility.
Monitor.
Monitor, that was his title, right. Thank you. Fill in the blanks. And his job was to make sure that the county jail complied with all of the provisions in the order and got us out of the decree. And he also helped the transition from old jail to new jail as far as the medical services that were required for the county to provide. And he has since, he must be involved with the county close to 20 years.
Yes, and across the nation, too.
And across the nation, right. But he's from out of state, but this was, should we say, the recommendation of the court? It wasn't a recommendation, it was a requirement that...
It was a mandate.
Yeah, that he join us. And he was very successful in helping the jail transition from an old facility to what we have now, and has stayed with the jail and knows the history, good, bad, and otherwise. And it has been a good history, to my understanding, in the medical department since the transition to the new jail. And he has stayed on and been part of that continued success.
He'll be here on August 8th, and we're preparing for him.
But he used to come more regularly.
Every other month, he still comes.
Yeah. But we would see him here.
Okay.
Yeah, periodically.
Thank you, Mr. Parvecchio. Any further questions or comments? Mr. McInerney?
I think Michael gave us a good historical viewpoint of Dr. Chansky.
Thank you.
And just to be clear,
Parvecchio?
there's no longer a federal consent order. It's long since gone. The jail has just, received accreditation status, and he is here he continues as a county consultant to assist in any medical issues or medical questions we may have.
Thank you. Freeholders, before I open it up for question and comments, just I think for the record, since we'd had so much public comment on this particular contract, probably important to note that this contract covers all of the detainees in the system. This is not a contract that is exclusive to ICE detainees that are in our system.
Every inmate, every state inmate, every detainee, and every federal marshal inmate, anybody under our charge.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Administrator, if the board were not, if this contract were not to pass tonight, or to be tabled, let's just talk about not passing. Where does that leave us in terms of delivering our medical care that we're required to deliver to our detainees?
I think will leave us in a very precarious situation. We do have to provide for medical care for the residents of the facility, and I think that we'd have to. I'm not sure quite what the answer is to that, but I do think would put us in a difficult position. We may have to do something on an emergent basis to deal with it.
Okay.
We're literally, LRT's director, we're literally talking about people's lives here. Medications and conditions, in some cases very severe. I would be hesitant to do that. We need to have a medical contract in place so that we can provide the medical care for those under our care.
Freeholders? Freeholder Palmares.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to get a sense, if you could, doctors or director, whoever could answer this. The volume of your work, can you elaborate a little bit further on the kind of service you provide? You mentioned detox and mental illness. Clearly, people are dependent on medication without any service. Clearly, this is troubling. You can't.
Yes, it is.
You can't. I mean, I come from
We
a medical.
process-
I come from a medical family. I don't prescribe medication, but I know
No,
you need
absolutely.
doctors and nurses. Can you describe the volume of work, please?
I'll tell you, patients don't read the textbooks. So they come in with all sorts of maladies, conditions, and a lot of them don't come in with a history of having access to health care. So many of our patients are presenting sometimes for the first time for medical care. So we process 27,000 people every year, roughly 2,000 a month.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
27,000 a year, roughly 2,000 a month. And of those, we've set up protocols, again, with Dr. Shansky's kind assistance. In fact, he called me at 3 p.m. today to follow up on the topic. And what we find is that as we regulate it, as we use CFG standards, we're able to basically normalize these folks and stabilize them as they come into the system. Because remember, they're coming directly from the street. They're not coming to us with any type of endorsement. So as they come in, we've trained our staff of close to 110 of nurses, doctors, APNs, that they have to triage these patients within hours. Because it may be, as the director said, a matter of life and death. We've seen people that literally have come after suffering traumatic injuries, having active suicidal ideations, and they're coming in from 21 municipalities, and the police department really is outgunned when it comes to managing those kind of cases. So we rarely take those cases. So as they come in, we're processing roughly 50 to 60 a day. Of that, roughly 30 to 40% are suffering from at least one addiction, whether it be alcohol or a combination of both. Many of them are coming in. Roughly of the 2,300 that we have right now, 1,600 are chronic medication, and roughly 400 are on psychotropic medication. Most of our women, unfortunately, come in with comorbid conditions, where they're psychiatric and also medical conditions that need to be managed. They're coming in sometimes with no prenatal care. They're coming in pregnant, also withdrawing from medications. So we have to have contingencies for that. We've been able to use resources and use economies of scale to build in systems, health systems within the jail. So you may be surprised to find out that we have dialysis within the facility, we have optometry, we have orthopedics, we have podiatry, we have oral surgery, we have dentistry, we have psychiatry. There's a number of specialties, and we've actually gone out to hospitals to encourage specialists to come in and participate. Because as you treat your jail, that's how you can view how your society, basically, their moral compass comes from that. So we basically start from that's a patient coming in, and within a few hours, we need to triage that patient and see where they fall. We have different levels of housing that they can come in. We have a 42-bed infirmary there. We have 4 negative pressure rooms. That basically can isolate any type of communicable condition that comes in. We work closely with the Department of Health. If there's anything that comes in, it may come from the Newark airport. I'll give you a case in point. We had 11 patients that came in suspected for Ebola that came in from near parts of Liberia during the high, epidemic period. We were able to manage those in conjunction with the Department of Health because we have that kind of connection with Dr. Fester and others that work with us hand in hand. So it's never a job that ever gets stagnant. It never gets basically boring because, as you see, our patients, when they come in, they're our top priority. We basically drop everything. If we have a TB scare, everybody's breathing the same air. So we manage TB. TB surveillance is one of our key things. We do it for 27,000 people. Drug surveillance, we do it for 27,000 people. So everyone basically gets that same level of care as they walk in. We use a lot of resources. But if you look at objective measures, our morbidity, very low. Our mortality, very low. Our suicide, very low. Our use of the local hospitals, which they're probably glad about, is very low. Today we have 3 patients in the hospital. One's in the ICU. 2 of them had suffered major calamities before they even presented to the jail. So we're managing to keep people out of the hospitals, within the facility, managing them within the infirmary, and basically I don't think there's a level of care outside of, let's say, acute that we can't manage.
It sounds like you rival the local ER in terms of the volume.
Basically.
Would it be fair to say that a significant portion, I don't expect a number, but it sounds like a significant portion of what you're dealing with has been undiagnosed for
Yes.
mental health, drugs, and wellness.
Absolutely.
So Would it
Absolutely.
be fair to say that that puts you at an uphill battle because you're dealing with zero history, zero records, and you're discovering things kind of
Absolutely.
up front lines?
And unfortunately, the mentally ill suffer twice because they're already in the system, but then because of their mental condition, they're not able to progress. So we've gone out, we've literally just last month went out to the Ankline Forensic, and we met with their leadership, and we've met with Trenton State leadership, and we've met with the crisis centers at Beth Israel, at University Hospital, basically to try to make the case for our patients, because if you're schizophrenic and you're decompensated and all of a sudden you're free, are you really? You still need that management. So we've made a direct linkage with Beth Israel so that as that patient gets discharged, they go directly to that crisis center. So we've basically made folks become partners with us because they have a responsibility too.
Thank you, Doctor. That was very helpful, and I appreciate the detail.
Vice President Richardson.
Yeah, so listening to some of the passionate testimony earlier, especially about situations that have happened in other places, and then hearing from Director Ortiz in terms of those issues not happening here in Essex County, and then listening to all of the care and the level of care that is given to the folks who are in Essex County, it seems like if we don't do this, we may have some of those instances that have happened other places. If
Al
we don't
Ortiz,
put this stuff in place.
Al Ortiz, director, 43 years in this business. I would be very uncomfortable tonight leaving and not having a medical protocol, because I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. I'm laying it right out. I need a medical care. These folks, like you said, sir, they're coming in undiagnosed. They're finding out they got enlarged hearts, coming in the first time they've seen anything of a medical protocol. They're coming in sick. We are their HMO, for lack of a better term. I could not emphasize that enough. I'm trying to be honest with you, and there's a visit date to the jail. I would implore that whoever wants to come, and we'll show you. Seeing is believing.
Through you, Mr.
Vice President
President.
Richardson.
Well, you know, I've been there several times, and I continue to come, and I've visited the medical wing and the ICE wing and every other wing. So I've been there. I continue to show up, and as far as I'm concerned, what I see, you do an excellent job. So,
We don't want to face those criticisms that other jails are facing. Whatever happens elsewhere, at Essex County doesn't happen. And I'm here to guarantee that.
One of the other things that was stated here tonight, very misleading, where he talked about women and children being locked up in Essex County facilities in terms of the ICE stuff. It's not true.
How is it
there
not
are
true?
no women and children.
Well, exactly, correct. We don't have, we have women that are county inmates,
Right, and I'm talking about county.
but ICE inmates and
But it
federal.
was stated over and over.
No, I agree. The
But
facts are the
it's not
facts.
accurate, right?
Can't argue with the facts.
Mr. President, if I may. We have an invitation to come and see the facilities firsthand in a matter of a couple of weeks. I know that next week, yeah, but it's been a long day. So, but certainly we'll be there next week, and we look forward to visiting the medical center. And doctor, if you would be there to give us a firsthand account of how it works, we're looking forward to seeing that for ourselves firsthand.
I just want to tell you that from my perspective, I don't fight with inmates over food, over medical, over visits. Obviously, there's certain things that we have to do when we have to do them, but there's certain givens in this business that you do, period, from a humane point of view and from a legal point of view.
Freeholders. Additional questions or comments, freeholders?
What is the,
Freeholder Bauer?
what is the, how is the fee paid or arranged? Is this per service or per year, per month, per unit? Like I see that 34 million was expended over the 3 years previous, and this is a 2-year contract at 25 million, I'm rounding.
This extension is to not to exceed 25 million, but we have a 5-year contract, 3 were straight, and then the last 2 were extensions on a year-per-year basis. So they do not exceed the amount.
So it's per diem.
So it's per diem depending, so
It's just a straight per diem? Okay. And if there were to be some kind of orderly withdrawal from the ICE contract, how would that affect the contract, either the per diem or the overall? In other words, is it a requirements contract, or are we in for the whole thing, and if 843 ICE detainees go away, that's just to your benefit and our detriment?
it's my experience that based on the count, the per diem rises or lessens as the count rises or lessens.
Okay, so it's per diem per individual?
Depending on the count, like food service.
Okay, and is it per diem per individual housed, or is it per diem per individual served? In other words, if somebody's not sick the whole time, do you get paid
To my best of my knowledge, it's per served.
per served? Okay. County Administrator, would you
We'll double check.
concur with that?
Mhm.
Okay, okay. Thank you. That's
Freeholders, additional.
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes.
I just, Freeholder, I just want to make sure I heard your question, but I'm going to give you, was your question, does the per diem change if, I think I may have misheard you. Were you saying, we pay each of the categories pay a per diem rate, which includes the medical coverage. So if the only time there's additional cost is if the person goes out of the facility, then there's some additional cost to whomever sent the person in. But for the per diem rate that covers standard medical coverage.
Okay, so it's like an insurance contract in the sense that I have to pay for my health insurance whether I'm sick or not. That's
It's
what you're
included.
saying by saying per diem per individual. So it's not really per service. It includes service, but and I'm just going to concentrate on the ICE because that was the context of my question. If the ICE detainee is just healthy during his or her, his entire stay, we're still paying a per diem for that individual, and it doesn't relate to service or not service.
Correct. I think Director may have misheard your
And
question.
ironically enough, the ICE population is more healthier than the county population. We just talked
Well,
about
they
that.
made it all the way here, so that says something. Okay, I understand. Thank you. Is there a clause for termination? And if so, what does it say? Do you know?
I'll defer to our purchasing director, but most of our, and also county council, most of our contracts do have that. I'm not sure of that specific one. The question is there a termination clause?
Yeah, yes, there is a termination clause.
And is there a penalty or?
Well, you have a without cause termination clause.
So
That's pretty standard language across all of our contracts, all across the state.
So the county can terminate without a penalty?
There is a notice provision. I think it's 30 days.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Freeholder Luciano?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to put on the record that I've been sitting on this board since 2011. I'm familiar with the vendor. I think they've done a good job at our county facility. They have quite a few clients and a lot of work statewide. Clearly, our director is here before us. He has daily firsthand experience working at the jail with this vendor. You know, he's putting his reputation, and he has an outstanding reputation at the jail as our director on the line. While I understand the sensitivity to the issue of ICE, I believe that this vendor doesn't just serve to treat those folks that are detainees, but also the folks that are in our correctional facility, which can be held up to 364 days a year. I think these services are necessary, and I just want to put on the record that I support the vendor and this contract extension.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder, additional questions or comments? We'll move her in a second.
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano,
Second, Mr. President.
second by Freeholder Palmaris. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmaris.
Yes.
Freeholder McCardle.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones. Freeholder Johnson. Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Present, not voting.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 13.
Thank you.
Resolutions 13 through 17, which are all Division of Housing and Community Development. We'll read them into a record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Mr. Soares is here from the department to answer any questions you may have on these items 13 through 17.
Good evening. John Suarez, Division of Housing and Community Development. On Resolution 13, it's reprogramming of Emergency Solutions Grant funds to funds that were recaptured from service agencies that did not perform their duties, and we are reprogramming them to the YMCA. On Resolution 14, it's reprogramming of CDBG funds for a project in Belleville Park renovations. And Resolution 15, it's extensions of the current contracts of emergency service grants until August 31st of 2018 for services that are being performed and need to be paid out. On Resolution 16, it's extensions of CDBG grants until October 31st of 2018 of current projects in process that are near completion. Then on Resolution 17, it's for program year 2018, the action plan for funds that are being received for the different programs. And the projects have been approved by the consortium of the 18 participating municipalities for CDBG and emergency services grants, and 19 for home. Bloomfield participates in the home consortium, while in CDBG and ESG, Bloomfield, Irvington, Newark, and East Orange are excluded because they get their own grants.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Freeholder Palmaris.
Thank you, sir. I have two questions related to first 14 and 16. So 14 would be the grant and the improvements to Belleville Park. I don't expect the precise details, but can you give me the nature of the improvements there? Are they playground? Are they horticultural? What kind of improvements? Can you give me an overview of what that is? I didn't quite see it in here.
Freeholder, I can, John, you have those?
I don't have
I
those.
actually do. Through you, Mr. President, the improvements include an overlay of the existing pathways in the park, milling and paving of the existing parking lot with improvements to the roadway base where necessary. Associated improvements include new decorative benches, trash receptacles, and a drinking fountain. Additional improvements include cleaning of the existing drainage structures, tree trimming, and brush clearing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. With respect to number 16, just a little bit of a clarification. So it's an extension on the grant. These projects are underway now. Are they all started? Are they stalled? Or can you give me a sense of what that means?
It's current contracts with the different municipalities. The majority of the projects are in the process. There are a couple of them that are stalled, and part of it has to do with, the weather that happened over the winter.
Okay.
Most of the time, that's what the stall is with these projects.
Thank you for the clarification. Is the nature of the work, is this basically the municipality goes out and does it and it's reimbursed through funds funneled through us? Or is it work that, are these county roads per se, like some of the ones that I'm looking at? Or are they municipal roads that are being funded through this program funneled through the county?
It's a combination of the two.
Okay.
There are some projects that, if the funding goes through the county, it's the Department of Public Works that does it, while on the municipalities bid out to different...
And they manage the project?
Yes, and they manage the project.
Okay.
And the division monitors those projects.
Great. So, Mr. Administrator, at a later time, it's a late night, I'd like to know a little bit more about what the projects with respect to Belleville, Glen Ridge, and Nutley are, if they're, what the status is. Are any of those stalled, or are they managed by the county, or if they're managed by the municipality who then works with the, I know you supervise, I understand that. Can you give me a nature of what those projects are in due time?
Certainly, Freeholder.
Thanks, you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Freeholder.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? We have a motion to take Freeholder Palmaris.
I'll second.
We'll take resolutions 13 through 17 together. It was moved by Freeholder Palmaris and seconded by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 18. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 18, the Office of Board of Taxation, contract award to Vital Communications, the sole responsive and responsible bidder to provide data processing services on tax records and reports, including tax list printing, June 23, 2018 through June 22, 2019, amount not to exceed $134,506.44.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Palavecchio.
I don't have any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Jackson, excuse me. Might have been wishful thinking there.
Understood. We'll just go at the vendors here, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. President, answer your question.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good evening. Dwayne
Good
Ferret, Vice President of Vital Communications. We've been a vendor for Essex County for over 25 years, serving the tax board and all assessors with the collaboration from the registrar's office to present paperless deeds, their appeal system, their SR1A system, all their paperwork, notice of assessments, tax appeals, tax rates. This is Tracy Timony. She's also his vice president.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Paravecchio.
No questions for me.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? It's a one-year contract. Mr. Jackson? 1 year?
Well, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Well, and have been a vendor for the past 25 years. Freeholders, questions or comments?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano, second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions number 19 through 21, which will read into a record at a later time, all from the Department of Public Works. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, first, thank you for your indulgence that the vendor had to leave. This is a contract for $270,994.10. We received 4 bids from 5 potential vendors, and this vendor is from Parsippany. It has 10 employees, 7 of whom are minorities. And I should say, this is to provide for traffic signals and improvements along Sanford Avenue and Sanford Place in the city of Newark.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson, can we do 20 and 21 as well?
Yes. 20 is a contract award to T-Slack, which will provide for, they do the maintenance and repair for our fueling stations around the county. It's a 2-year contract, an amount not to exceed $124,200. We received 2 bids from 19 potential vendors. This is the same vendor as our last contract. And this vendor is happens to be from Kenilworth. And for 21, this is a contract with the Yanuzzi Group, which will be doing some demolition work at 77 South 11th Street in Newark. This is a part of the Payne School project, and this land will be used for parking.
Okay. Freeholders. Questions 19, 20, 21.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
On 19, I am glad to see that we are voting on this tonight because that's the corner, a very dangerous corner on Sanford and South Orange Avenue that Senator Rice has been going crazy about for the last 2 years. And I'm glad to see that we have it up there and we're getting ready to do some actions upon this.
Excellent. Freeholders. The mover in a second.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Johnson, second by Freeholder Bauer. Roll call, Madam Clerk. This is for Resolution 19, 20, and 21.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to Resolution number 22.
Resolution 22, the Office of Prosecutor Professional Services Agreement, continuing legal education consultant and Public Safety Academy Training Administrator Hillary Brunel, amount not to exceed $65,000.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Ms. Brunel is a legal education consultant and provides continuing education for the County Counsel's Office, Prosecutor's Office, and will continue to do that. In previous years, the amount was $57,000. This amount is going to be $65,000, and that is because she's also now picking up the continuing education requirements at the Police Academy. which used to be done by an assistant prosecutor, which was at a much higher number. So for an additional $8,000, she's picking up that responsibility.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Palavecchio.
Yeah, just as to the continuing legal education credits, I think this contract's been in place since the state of New Jersey made mandatory that licensed attorneys complete a certain number of hours each year, actually on 2-year basis. So the county has had this contract for its prosecutors. I think, I know I'm eligible to go to these as well as county council staff, free of charge to get your mandatory legal ed credits. So it's a good service for the county attorneys.
Thank you. Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Have a mover and a second.
Move it.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado.
Second.
Second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Freeholder Sebo absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's go to resolutions 23 and 24, both from the Office of the Sheriff. We can read them into a record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, 2 contracts with the Office of the Sheriff, Clearview Data for both. The first is to provide for a photo manager identification system. The sheriff is moving to, office is moving to more sophisticated and integrated system for capturing and disseminating fingerprints and photo information through all the county, all of our municipalities. And this agreement with Clearview Data will continue that support of the data network. For 24, another contract again with Clearview. This will provide a portable live scan system, which is a 1-year agreement. And this is for fingerprinting of detainees and also for fingerprinting of detainees. And this is coming from trust funding.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Palavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Freeholders. Questions or comments? Seems fairly straightforward. Do you have a mover and a second?
Move it.
Second. Moved by Freeholder Mercado, second by Freeholder Pomares. We're taking 23 and 24 together. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo absent. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 25, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, this is an authorization. We want to use competitive contracting process to solicit bids for proposals, I should say, for our workers' comp program. This service is no longer considered a U.S. contract, so we need to do the competitive contracting process to secure these services, and we need the board's authorization to do that. And just by way of reference, this is our current vendor is PMA.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Palavecchio.
No questions, Mr. President.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Bauer,
Second.
second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions 26 through 32, which I believe are all commendations.
Yes.
Memoriams.
There's 33 got added on.
Yeah, we'll take 333 separately. Can we just do 26 through 32? Mover in a second. We'll read them into the record at a later time. Moved by Freeholder Johnson. Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Freeholder Siebel absent. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point in time, we're going to move to resolution number 33, which is a resolution being sponsored by Freeholder Bauer. I'm going to turn the floor over to Freeholder Bauer to talk to resolution 33. We can read it into the record at a later time.
So, I drafted this resolution because there's money that could possibly be left on the table with respect to the purchase of new voting machines. And it's really a resolution that requests certain things of Trenton and the various appropriate persons or bodies in Trenton, and that is to request money from the that's left over from the Help America Vote Act, otherwise known as HAVA, to replace our touchscreen machines with machines which would also be electronic, just newer and really it's the same technology, it's a scan technology, but that would provide a voter-verified paper audit trail. A voter-verified paper audit trail is actually required by Title 19 and has been required by Title 19 since the legislature passed an mandatory law in 2008. However, none of the voting machines in use in Essex County and actually everywhere in New Jersey have a voter-verified paper audit trail. This makes especially low turnout elections very difficult to verify the results where there's a contest, in other words, a decision by a handful of votes, and it also prevents or it resolves disputes, I should say. It doesn't prevent fraud, but in the event of fraud, a cyber attack, or the various other things that can happen with electronic machines, it allows the election officials to have a way of verifying what the votes actually were for each candidate. So this is requesting monies from Trenton for new voting machines, and also requesting the certification of voting machines that do have a voter-verified paper audit trail. In other words, it's turning the clock forward and turning it back at the same time, I think, because New Jersey was not really ready and got itself into kind of a bind and got itself into a lot of litigation and that went on for years and years over the quality and reliability of the voting machines that we are using. Now that those machines are quite old, and we already spent this year alone $1 million in those 3 contracts that we awarded back in March and April to fix up the software, repair the machines, send people out when machines break down during election day, do the certification of machines in the warehouse, and so on and so forth. It's time to try to access that money from the Help America Vote Act, of which at least $10 million is available, and about 360, I think, nationwide, but $10 million available in New Jersey to get them here in Essex County. We are the 3rd largest voting population and turnout in New Jersey, and I would not like to see that money going to something else that keeps us with the old machines, or just not going to this county. So that's really the background and context, because people are going to be focusing on this very, very shortly, given the upcoming 2018 and 2020 elections.
Thank you, Freeholder Bauer. Thank you for your work on this resolution, and thank you for allowing me to co-sponsor it with you. Are there additional questions from the freeholders on this resolution?
Can I
Sure.
be added to your?
Absolutely. I
Freeholder
think we
Johnson?
should do it by acclamation. I don't know how, you
That's
know.
fine, but that's fine.
Okay.
Yep, on mine, if that's okay with you, Freeholder Bauer. I would just say that, and maybe, this is not for tonight, but for follow-up with the administration. I think Freeholder Bauer is correct that some things are going to move quickly on this, and I think we probably would want to coordinate with the administration on leveraging our entire state delegation the best extent that we can to also help us, help the county in any way possible. So I think this resolution will be sent to all the legislative offices once it's passed tonight, and potentially maybe even we can talk about maybe pulling a meeting together, with if not with everyone, with some members of the delegation, to make sure that everyone is aware at the state level of what potentially is out there for the county.
Mr. President, if I may, I think, too, it's important for the state to make a decision about a machine or machines. Right now, even with the funding that Freeholder Bauer is referring to, which we hope we can get, even if we're prepared, I think I can say confidently that the county executive would be prepared to move ahead in getting new machines, but at this point, there's nothing to buy. Because the state needs to approve a machine, or again, machines that will do the requirements that the freeholders are looking for. And I think that decision's been, I'm going to say, 2 years in the making, it's kind of decision, so again, I don't know all the complexities of picking which ones would work, but it just seems to me we need to pick a machine and so we can actually acquire something.
Yeah, I agree. Our county election officials, or just our county officials, are not going to be allowed to buy machines which are not certified. So one of the resolved clauses requests that the Division of Elections within the Department of State certify machines with a voter verified paper audit trail forthwith, or something like that, I said. But that is actually really the key hurdle. I mean, getting the money is always hard, but that's going to be hopefully easier for us. But for some reason, and I did actually read the entire transcript of the I don't know what to call it, the hearing and the test runs that were done in a secure warehouse in Trenton under the supervision of the Superior Court, as well as all the cases, both in the Law Division and in the Appellate Division, of the 3 cases that were brought with respect to the reliability and security of the current machines. And there does seem to be a bit of a bias, if I can say that, and I don't say it in a negative or pejorative way, but there seems to be a bit of a bias on the part of the election officials who were in charge of that particular process toward machines that we will not be satisfied with. So I don't really know anything about that, but I didn't have to read between the lines to pick up on that. I could tell that the Appellate Division was very unhappy with it, which is why they kept sending it back down. But I'm hopeful that it was just a condition of the circumstances. What actually happened is that most of those machines were rejected by New York, and we wound up with them. And New York has a paper audit trail, which is a very efficient thing. I mean, if New York City can do it efficiently, I'm sure Essex County can do it efficiently. So we just really need the appropriate machine certified, and I do recognize, and that's way over my pay grade, that is really the hurdle. And so I'm very thankful to the county administrator for bringing that up and allowing me to comment a little bit further on that, because it's a lot more than just getting the money. We've got to get a hold of this process and get the right thing. And I know that, you know, whenever we get the New York leftovers, I commuted by transit for many, many years to New York, and every morning would show up a train in my station, Mountain Station in South Orange, that said Metro North Railroad. So I know what happens when we get there, throwaways and leftovers. And, you know, let's put Essex County first.
Get ahead of it, that's right. Could not agree more. So, and fair point. I'd like to get the money too, though. But
Absolutely. We gotta have the money.
Let's see if we can do both. So, thank you for your work on this Freeholder.
Thank you.
We did a mover in a second.
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Bauer. With a second.
Second.
Second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Bauer.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Freeholder Sebo, absent. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving to reports of boards and committees. Freeholder Palmares.
Thank you, Mr. President. On June 18th, we had a committee meeting at the Housing and Community Development Committee, and specifically, we were tasked to explore the options that this board may have with respect to the recent foreclosures that we've been hearing here in public comment, the concerns for it. I want to thank my colleagues on the board who attended the meeting. I want to thank administration for bringing together the Sheriff's Department and county services and all the folks that we needed to really get some answers. It's fact-finding in nature for us to kind of explore what our options are. And I realize it's a little late, so I'm going to try to be as brief as possible. And I'm going to call on Mr. Parlavecchio to assist in a couple of areas with the legal things. But in short, we had the Sheriff's Office discuss the role in the foreclosure proceedings. We explored the county services for residents that are displaced by foreclosures, students in particular, what habits can you stay within their district, the schools. And then we also touched on internal and external funding sources related to the foreclosure. So I think we kind of, at the end, when it was all said and done, I think we left with a few bullet points here, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Parlavecchio to touch on the legal components. One, there is county ordinances cannot dictate and supersede, as we all know, state and federal laws. To that degree, none of the ordinances that we can make can regulate banking. It's not within our purview. Mr. Parlavecchio will touch on that a little further. But there is a bill now sponsored by Assemblywoman Tucker that is something that we should be in touch with and monitor and bring awareness of, which may bring the relief that some of the folks who are coming to public comment to bring us to our attention may want to be further aware about. The second component of what we looked at are the educational programs that we can offer. So things like housing counseling in advance for people, first-time home buyers. What can you do if you're under foreclosure? And also perhaps have like a housing conference so that there's accurate information and not for-profit business trying to sell you a product that you don't necessarily need if you're under foreclosure proceedings, because it is extremely confusing for many people. And I think then the last thing we can do is, as a board, explore our banking relationships and create new protocol or adjustments as necessary. And it's my understanding, I haven't been here that long, but it's my understanding as a banking committee, and that perhaps it's within the purview of the banking committee to review what protocol, similar to what we may ask of or require of vendors coming through certain kind of requirements, maybe with their lending practice and things, that's something that could be reviewed and explored, so that we can then explore the kind of relationships that we want to be associated with as a board, reflective of what's in the spirit of our constituents' interests as well. And with that, that's kind of the summary. I'm going to ask Mr. Parlavecchia to touch a little bit on some of the aspects that he's been working with us as well.
Yeah, Freeholder, I think you hit it on the head, and from a legal standpoint, there's not much more to expand on other than as far as banking and financial institutions go, they are governed and regulated by state and federal statute and regulations. And what the committee hearing, I think, revealed a lot of or explored was what can and can't county government do to affect the foreclosure crisis, and what can county government do to affect the banking industry in this county and beyond. And one of the things, and you touched on it, was exploring the banking relationships we have. And I think all the freeholders received a list of the institutions with whom the county deposits a great deal of money. And you, without having been to a banking committee meeting, you pretty much outlined what the last two banking committee meetings accomplished, and that was to explore a lot of what the banks do in terms of loans and mortgages and recasting mortgages, and what they do with customers who find themselves foreclosed upon. And that's something that the banking committee was designed to do, and frankly, because looking at different options, regulating the banks wasn't something we can do, but impacting them through our own actions was maybe another way to get their attention. So I think that's something that's ripe for banking committee review, and to take a look at that list we received from the administration about the deposits.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President,
Yeah,
if I may, really in response to comments that we've heard as the administration, but also from leadership of Freeholder Palmares and others on the board, we took a look at a banking relationship that we talk about fairly frequently, and we do have some grants and things that come out of there. And so I can say that we are in the process of putting things in place that should we decide to make a decision to end a particular relationship, that we'll be able to do that forthwith. And I think it's, if I'm reading the consensus of the board, and also certainly of the administration, that it's something we could do, would be willing to partner to do. And I think, if I'm reading the board correctly, I think that's probably a direction that people want to go. So we're putting those mechanics in place now.
No question. I'm sorry, I was going to make a comment. Do you have a comment, Field?
No, sir,
Okay.
I'm good, Mr. President.
So I couldn't agree more. I think what I would like to see is that we start to move this process along. I know some of the people that were here earlier, due to the late hour, are not here right now. So I almost wish we had this report earlier in the meeting. However, I think that the board and the subcommittee has done their due diligence. I think the hearing was very, very productive to hear both from community leaders, from the administration, on what really is tangible for us as a board to do. We all want to act. We all know that this is a serious, serious problem, and we want to do something about it. There's no question about that. But I think at this point, my suggestion would be that we start to frame what those things actually are now that we've done our due diligence on our research. We know we have the banking ordinance from that was passed last year, which gives us a series of tools that we can continue to follow up with to hold these banks accountable as a general matter, and in particular on this issue. And then secondly, and most important though, I think, is letting the community know that there are some limits on what we can do with our own power, and as it pertains to the use of law enforcement and other county agencies in this process, which I think is also a concern. So it's not as easy, in my opinion, to snap our fingers and say, well, okay, we have a moratorium on foreclosures. You know, so what we do have, I think, is a really good state bill, and preaching to the choir, because the board, I think, is the only people left I see right now at this point, at this hour. But we need to, I think, collectively start to help move the community towards the idea of supporting that state legislation, because that's where we're going to, I think, in my own opinion, have the most impact in fixing this problem. There are a lot of things we can do. We're going to do them, but I also would love to harness some of this energy that's being spent week to week here by coming and speaking to us about this issue, and start to funnel that towards also helping to support the legislation, which I think would really make a huge difference in helping us to deal with this issue. So thank you, Freeholder Board members, for taking the lead on the committee meeting. We're looking forward, Mr. Jackson, to, I think, some action very soon, you know, in what you addressed, and we will continue to do our due diligence and do everything we can to try to help assist in this issue. I don't see Ms. Bay in the audience, though, so we'll make sure to circle back with her for sure. So, okay, thank you. No, in all seriousness, yeah, we want to make sure that we will circle back. Freeholder Jones.
I too had a meeting, affirmative action,
Okay. Yes.
and we have a new director of this, Mr. Samuel Parakeet. And looking at the numbers or as what has been going on when we had the meeting over the last 3 years since I have been on that committee, things really has not gained any status in terms of a difference when it relates to the veterans, women, men, and just basically small businesses in terms of receiving contracts through the county. But I do feel very optimistic that I'm going to say Sam, that his position now, and he understood that he is going to reach out and use every method possible to reach these vendors, small contractors or business, so they can be a part of Essex County workforce, and I'm going to give him an opportunity, and I do believe the persons or the freeholders who were there find him to be a person that you can trust, and that he will make a difference in terms of trying to bring more minority business into Essex County, because Essex County is a powerful committee, county, but at the same time, when it comes to the small businesses, we are at the lowest level I can imagine of any other county. So let's see what Sam is going to do, and along with our mayor, Mr. Jackson, that he keep his foot to the fire and ask those questions related to those departments who would be able to bring on small businesses in Essex County. And other than that, thank you for giving me a few minutes. If you have questions, of course, you can ask.
Thank you, Freeholder Jones, for that update on that committee hearing. I might have missed it. Did we receive the transcripts from that committee hearing yet?
No, the meeting just happened.
Just happened. Okay.
That was this week.
This week. Okay.
On Tuesday.
Excellent. So look forward to seeing the transcripts from that meeting as well. Are there any other reports of board committees? Legislative reports? Written communication? Unfinished business? New business? Public comment? Freeholder comment session? Freeholder Johnson.
To you, Mr. President, I'd like to first of all thank all my colleagues, the administration, and some of the directors and all that have been tuning in on my phone during my trying times. I know I've had 2 months of some harsh times, but you know, through having faith and keeping your strength up, it has taken me through it, and I want to thank all of you who have called me, and especially our county exec, because every day I received a call from him, even when I couldn't talk. I received a call from him. He was talking about bringing stuff to me, what I need. He'll bring it to my house. I just appreciate that, and my family appreciates that, because we've had some trying times in the last 2 months. So I want to thank all of you for your support during those times. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholders. Freeholder Luciano.
Glad to see you're back, Freeholder Johnson. And you look great, so keep it up, very strong.
14 pounds thinner.
It's not the way to lose it.
I know we had a long night, but I just wanted to quickly put a comment on the record, Mr. President, because I think, and again, I don't speak for anyone else on this board, but I may speak for some of you when I say we really passionately care about the general public. That's why we spent a couple hours here listening to them come before us on the microphone. And one of the things that I can say is, you know, social injustice in our country, it's still very prevalent and can be very unfair. And while I see eye to eye with several of the folks that came here before us on the mic, I do want to say that as a legislator and being elected now in my 3rd term, I have an obligation. And the obligation that we have is to review and listen and, you know, take our own notes and make decisions. And the federal issue that was brought before us is a serious issue. But we can't combat one issue by performing another social injustice, which was recommended up at the microphone tonight, that we were to not vote on health services and medical services for our detainees and for our prisoners. In some third world countries, you'll see that, you know, prisoners and even detainees, for that matter, are treated totally disrespectfully, unfair, immoral, and literally left sometimes to die. I cannot do that. We did not do that tonight. I wanted to thank the rest of the board members for voting on that contract. But we do, you know, deeply care, and this is, you know, on television, so I want the people at home to understand that just because we voted on that contract and some folks encourage us not, it's not because we don't see eye to eye on their issue or what they're talking about, but because we have an obligation to provide those services and take care of those people, because many of them do deserve rehabilitation. That's why they're in our facility. So I just wanted to put that on the record, because as I've been sitting here over the last few hours, it's really resonated, you know, it's bothered me. But I want folks, you know, even the folks that are here tonight, to understand that, you know, we're human beings. We're here from Essex County, and we hear you loud and clear. But, you know, we also have obligation as a 9-member elected board to do the right things for the people that are in our facilities that we also care deeply about. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Luciano. Additional comments, freeholders? Okay. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved.